Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Naruto Becomes Immortal Dark Mage? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. In the world of fairy tale, Natsu held his brother's lifeless body, tears streaming down his face. He felt the weight of regret as he spoke, acknowledging the pain his brother had endured. Zeref, despite his fading strength, reassured Natsu that he should not blame himself for the choices made. He expressed his enduring love for Natsu before taking his final breath. In a dark void, Zeref opened his eyes, confused about his surroundings. A sinister voice greeted him, revealing the presence of Anxeram, the god of life and death, who had cursed him. Zeref glared at Anxeram, who mocked him, suggesting that his suffering was far from over. The god revealed that he had arranged for Zeref to be reborn, burdened with the curse of contradiction. With a final farewell, Anxeram sent Zeref away. Zeref was reincarnated as Naruto, and the circumstances of Naruto's birth remained unchanged. Growing up, Naruto faced hostility from the villagers, which he preferred, as he wished to avoid forming attachments that could lead to pain. At the age of 6, he began to recall memories of his past life, prompting him to distance himself from the Ichiraka family, the only ones who showed him kindness besides the Hokage. As Naruto isolated himself in his apartment, his only interactions were with the Hokage, who provided him with necessities. When Naruto turned 7, the Hokage suggested he enroll in the academy, believing it would be a good opportunity for him to make friends. Initially resistant, Naruto eventually agreed, knowing the Hokage would persist in his encouragement. Upon joining the academy, Naruto was largely ignored by his peers, as their parents warned them to stay away from him. He chose to remain indifferent, completing only the minimum requirements of his classes without concern for graduating. 2 years later, some girls in his class began to question their parents' warnings and started to develop feelings for him. Whenever a girl greeted Naruto, he responded with a wave and a faint smile, which unexpectedly increased his popularity, leading some of Sasuke's admirers to shift their attention to him. As time passed, Naruto's life at the academy became less peaceful, with his newfound admirers constantly vying for his attention. A year later, he encountered Kurama, who empathized with Naruto's struggles. Kurama, having seen Naruto's memories of his past life as Zeref, summoned him to the mindscape to forge a friendship. Naruto felt relieved to have a friend he couldn't harm, as Kurama was sealed within him. Kurama shared stories about Naruto's parents, his clan, the tailed beasts, and the Sage of Six Paths. Time passed, and the graduation exam approached. Irika announced the start of the exam, beginning with a written test. As the students received their papers, Mizuki secretly harbored ill intentions toward Naruto, plotting to use him for his own gain. Kurama warned Naruto of Mizuki's hostility, but Naruto remained unfazed, knowing he could return from any harm due to his curse. After the written exam, the students moved on to kunai and shuriken throwing. While Sasuke excelled, Naruto's performance was lackluster. The final test involved a taijutsu battle, and Naruto was matched against Sasuke. The excitement among the fangirls was palpable, but Naruto chose to forfeit, earning scorn from his classmates, though his admirers defended him. The last test required the students to perform 3 jutsu: the clone jutsu, substitution jutsu, and transformation jutsu. When it was Naruto's turn, he transformed into Irika, impressing his teacher. He successfully executed the substitution jutsu, replacing himself with Mizuki. However, when it came time for the clone jutsu, Naruto struggled, producing only 2 pale clones that fell to the ground, eliciting laughter from his peers. Everyone except Naruto's fangirls. Irika expressed his disappointment, telling Naruto that he had failed. Naruto reassured him that it was fine, even though he thought to himself that he didn't really want to be a ninja anyway. Kurama, the fox spirit within him, questioned if he was going to watch Mizuki. Naruto had a feeling that Mizuki was planning something bad. After classes ended, Naruto sat on a swing, watching children walk home with their parents. As he observed them, Mizuki approached him and began speaking. He told Naruto that he shouldn't be at Irika's for failing and that Irika was concerned for his safety. Mizuki then suggested that there was another way for Naruto to become a genin by stealing the scroll from the Hokage's office. Naruto accepted the task. Later that night, Naruto stood in front of the Hokage, who asked what brought him there so late. Naruto replied that it was nothing important before using time magic to stop time. He quickly took the scroll and cancelled his spell before leaving. The Hokage, confused, wondered where Naruto had gone just after their conversation. An Umbu member then appeared, informing the Hokage that the scroll had been stolen. The Hokage immediately used his crystal ball to locate Naruto, finding him jumping through trees with the scroll in hand. He instructed the Umbu to get Irika. After stealing the scroll, Naruto began reading it, memorizing all the jutsus and their hand signs. When Irika arrived, the Hokage informed him about Naruto's theft and ordered him to retrieve the scroll. After searching for a while, Irika found Naruto and scolded him for stealing the scroll of sealing. Irika demanded to know why Naruto had done it. Naruto replied that he wanted to become more powerful, but then quickly added that he was just kidding and that Mizuki had told him stealing the scroll would make him a genin. Irika was shocked by Mizuki's manipulation. Just then, Mizuki appeared and demanded that Naruto hand over the scroll. He praised Naruto for his actions, saying that if he gave him the scroll, he would pass. Irika warned Naruto not to trust Mizuki, urging him to run and get backup. Mizuki, however, continued to sow doubt, claiming that Irika had been lying to him and that he deserved to know the truth about why everyone hated him. Mizuki revealed that the reason everyone hated Naruto was because the Nine Tails was sealed inside him. Naruto pretended to be surprised by this information. Mizuki saw this as an opportunity to attack and threw his demon wind shuriken at Naruto. Irika jumped in front of Naruto to protect him, but Naruto pushed him aside, resulting in the shuriken hitting him in the chest. As Naruto fell to the ground, Mizuki laughed, believing he had killed the demon. Irika screamed in despair, while the Hokage thought about failing Minato and Kushina. To everyone's surprise, Naruto suddenly stood up, declaring that he was immortal. He removed the shuriken from his chest, and his wound began to regenerate. The Hokage thought that Naruto was probably joking and that the Nine Tails had healed him. Naruto then announced that it was time for Mizuki to face the consequences. He created a clone of Mizuki's shuriken and coated it with his dark magic. Mizuki challenged him, but Naruto threw the shuriken with great precision, hitting Mizuki's arm before he could react. Mizuki cried out in pain, asking what Naruto had done to him as his arm began to rot away. Naruto simply replied that it was nothing important before throwing another shuriken at Mizuki's throat, causing further decay. Both Irika and the Hokage were shocked by the turn of events. Irika demanded to know why Naruto had killed Mizuki, to which Naruto replied that he was a traitor who had broken the Hokage's law. Just then, an Umbu member wearing a boar mask appeared, acknowledging that Naruto was correct but stating that the Hokage wanted Mizuki alive for interrogation. Naruto speculated that Mizuki was working for Orochimaru, leaving Irika astonished at how Naruto knew this. Naruto explained that he had read about Orochimaru and could smell the stench of snakes on Mizuki. He then handed the scroll to the Umbu, who left afterward. Naruto announced that he would be leaving as well. Irika stopped him, asking him to close his eyes for a moment. When Naruto opened them, he found a leaf headband on his forehead, and Irika declared him a genin. Naruto thought to himself that he had finally become a ninja. Irika reminded him not to listen to Mizuki's words, assuring him that he was not a demon but Naruto Uzumaki, his student. Naruto expressed his gratitude, and Irika informed him that team placements would be announced in a week. The next day, the Hokage sent the boar Umbu to summon Naruto to his office. When Naruto arrived, he asked what the Hokage wanted. The Hokage replied that he was checking on him to see if he was fine. Naruto assured him that he was okay and that he didn't need to worry. The Hokage expressed relief at Naruto's well-being and noted that he suspected Naruto wouldn't share details about his newfound power. Naruto teased that he might tell him in the future. Naruto prepared to leave when a young boy suddenly burst into the room, brandishing a wooden kunai. The boy declared that it was time for the old man to die, and that he would become Hokage after that. He charged at Hiruzen but tripped over his own scarf, landing face-first on the ground. After picking himself up, he glared at Naruto, blaming him for the fall. The boy pointed an accusing finger at Naruto, demanding to know why he had tripped him. Naruto chuckled, finding the situation amusing. He explained that it was not his fault the boy had tripped on his scarf and suggested he should get a shorter one. The boy, indignant, reminded Naruto that he was the Hokage's grandson. Naruto, unfazed, stated that he didn't care about that and would not respect him simply because of his lineage. A nearby jonin, wearing glasses, scolded Naruto for hurting the young lord, but Hiruzen interrupted, noting that the boy had already left while the jonin was speaking. The jonin, concerned, went off in search of the Hokage's grandson. Meanwhile, the boy explained to Naruto that he wanted to be recognized as Konoha Maru, not just the young lord. He believed that by becoming Hokage, he would earn that recognition. Naruto advised him that there were no shortcuts to becoming Hokage and that he needed to rise through the ranks first. He warned Konoha Maru not to bother him again unless he wanted to face serious consequences. The jonin reappeared, instructing Konoha Maru to stay away from Naruto. Konoha Maru insisted that with Naruto's help, he would become Hokage. The jonin, Ebisu, argued that he could teach Konoha Maru a shortcut, but Konoha Maru stood firm, saying that Naruto had told him there were no shortcuts. As Naruto prepared to leave, Konoha Maru called after him, but Naruto reiterated that he should stay away from him before disappearing. A week passed, and at the academy, Irika addressed the students, informing them that they were now real ninjas, though still genin. He explained that they would soon be assigned duties and that today they would form 3-man teams, each with a jounin sensei. Sasuke thought to himself that 3-man teams would only hinder him. Sakura was determined to be on Sasuke's team, while Shikamaru found the whole situation troublesome. Ino was adamant that Sasuke would be on her team, and Choji was preoccupied with thoughts of snacks. Hinata felt sad that Naruto had not passed. When the teams were announced, Irika declared that Team 7 would consist of Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Many students were surprised that Naruto had passed, and Hinata felt a mix of happiness and sadness. Sasuke, however, was frustrated that Naruto had made it through. Irika continued announcing the other teams, and after a 3-hour wait, all the jounin senseis arrived except for Team 7's. Sasuke was about to leave when Sakura called out to him, asking where he was going. Sasuke replied that he was leaving because he didn't like wasting time. Just then, Kakashi arrived, casually walking up to Sasuke and Sakura. Sakura immediately confronted him about being late. Kakashi responded with a light-hearted excuse about getting lost on the road of life, which only irritated Sakura further. When Kakashi asked where their third teammate was, Sakura mentioned Naruto, who finally arrived a few minutes later, apologizing for his lateness. Kakashi instructed them to meet him on the roof of the academy. Once there, he asked for introductions, prompting Sakura to ask what he wanted to know. Kakashi requested their likes, dislikes, dreams for the future, and hobbies. Sakura insisted that he should provide an example first. Kakashi introduced himself, stating that he had no desire to share his likes or dislikes, and that he hadn't thought about his dreams for the future. This response caused both Sasuke and Sakura to sweat drop. Sakura then introduced herself, stammering as she mentioned her likes and hobbies, all while staring at Sasuke, who simply huffed in response. Kakashi noted that Sakura's infatuation would lead to trouble if she didn't change. When he asked about her dislikes, she mentioned Naruto and Ino. Kakashi then turned to Sasuke, who introduced himself with a serious tone, stating his ambition to avenge his clan. Finally, it was Naruto's turn. He introduced himself, mentioning that he liked his friend Kurama and disliked hurting others, although he would resort to violence if necessary. He also shared that his hobby was reading books. Naruto expressed his dream of one day being free from his curse, his face reflecting a deep sadness. Sakura and Sasuke both contemplated the weight of his words, while Kakashi thought about the sorrowful life of a Jinchuriki. Kakashi informed the group that they would begin their duties the next day with a survival training. Sakura protested, noting that they had already trained enough at the Ninja Academy. Kakashi explained that he would be their opponent in a challenging exam, where only 9 of the 27 graduates would be chosen as genin, and the rest would return to the academy. The exam had a high failure rate, which shocked Sakura and Sasuke, but Naruto remained unfazed. Kakashi instructed them to bring all their shinobi tools and to skip breakfast, warning that they might throw up. The next day, Sakura yelled at Kakashi for being late. He apologized, claiming a black cat crossed his path and he had to take the long way around, even helping some elderly ladies along the way. Sakura was incredulous at his excuse, but Kakashi dismissed her concerns, reminding them that they had until the clock rang to complete their task. Kakashi revealed that there were 2 bells, and their objective was to take one from him before noon. Those who failed would not only miss lunch but would also be tied to a stump while he ate in front of them. Sakura realized that this was Kakashi's way of putting them through a tough challenge. Kakashi warned them that only one of them would succeed, and he encouraged them to use their shurikens and kunai with the intent to win. Sakura expressed concern for Kakashi's safety, but Naruto reassured her that he was a skilled jonin. Kakashi then declared the start of the training, and the 3 quickly hid in the forest. Kakashi pondered who to pursue first, considering it might be amusing to go after Sakura. Meanwhile, Sakura was searching for Sasuke when she suddenly heard his voice calling for her. Turning around, she was horrified to see him covered in kunai, blood flowing from his wounds. He pleaded for her help before collapsing. Overwhelmed, Sakura screamed and fainted. Kakashi realized he might have gone too far with the genjutsu. He decided to pass the time by reading his book until Naruto or Sasuke came to find him. Just then, Sasuke attacked with a kunai, only for Kakashi to reveal it was a substitution. Sasuke quickly countered, throwing more kunai, but Kakashi dodged effortlessly. Sasuke, determined to prove himself, began to perform hand seals for a jutsu. Kakashi was taken aback, realizing Sasuke was using a technique he thought was beyond a genin's capability. Sasuke unleashed a fireball jutsu, which Kakashi dodged, but then caught Sasuke off guard by using an earth release technique to bind his feet. Sakura eventually regained consciousness and rushed to find Sasuke, only to scream again in shock at his condition, fainting once more. Sasuke, frustrated by her reaction, thought she was useless. Meanwhile, Naruto decided it was his turn to confront Kakashi. He used his magic to stop time, sneaking up to Kakashi and switching the bells with rocks before returning to his original position. Kakashi, unfazed, challenged Naruto to show him what he could do. Naruto unleashed a powerful wind slash, which Kakashi dodged, followed by a lightning bolt that Kakashi also evaded. Engaging in hand-to-hand combat, Naruto's enhanced strength surprised Kakashi, who felt the intensity of each blow. Determined to scare Kakashi, Naruto created a death orb warning Kakashi to dodge. Kakashi complied, narrowly avoiding the attack, and was shocked to see the destruction it caused to the surrounding plants. Naruto explained that the orb would eliminate anything it touched, leaving Kakashi feeling uneasy as he noticed Naruto's fierce demeanor. After the intense confrontation, Naruto returned to Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke, trapped, demanded Naruto dig him out, but Naruto retorted that it would be an honor to knock him out instead, delivering a swift chop to Sasuke's neck. Eventually, the test concluded as the clock rang loudly, waking Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura was about to faint again until Sasuke urged her to help him, prompting her to dig him out. They returned to the spot where their test had begun, observing the lifeless trees and plants, wondering what had transpired. Kakashi expressed his disappointment, stating that none of them had managed to take the bells. Naruto then revealed that he had the bells, prompting Kakashi to question how he had obtained them. As Kakashi looked at the bells tied to his waist, they transformed into rocks, leaving him puzzled. Naruto playfully kept the details to himself, and when Kakashi inquired about what he intended to do with the bells, Naruto tossed one to Sasuke and the other to Sakura. Sakura was taken aback, questioning why she was included. Naruto shrugged, expressing his lack of interest in becoming a genin. Sasuke, however, firmly stated that he would not accept a bell he hadn't earned, returning it to Naruto. Sakura echoed his sentiment, acknowledging Naruto's effort in obtaining the bells. Kakashi then revealed that they had all passed the test, much to the surprise of Sakura and Sasuke. He explained that the true purpose of the test was to assess their ability to work as a team. Although they hadn't demonstrated that during the fight, their actions at the end had shown their camaraderie. Kakashi reminded them that those who break the rules are considered trash, but those who abandon their comrades are lower than trash. He expressed his eagerness to work with Team Time Past, and in the Hokage's office, all the Jonin senseis except Kakashi reported on their team's performances. Kurenai mentioned that Team 8 had passed, noting their good teamwork but areas for improvement. She highlighted Kiba's arrogance, Shino's need for better taijutsu skills, and Hinata's lack of confidence. Asuma reported that Team 10 had also passed, but they too had their challenges. He pointed out Choji's kind nature, which could be dangerous, Ino's need for significant improvement, and Shikamaru's intelligence paired with laziness. After discussing the teams, Hiruzen dismissed the Jonin senseis. After 3 hours, Kakashi finally arrived at the Hokage's office. Hiruzen inquired about Team 7's performance, and Kakashi confirmed they had passed. He explained that Naruto had taken the bells and given them to Sasuke and Sakura, who had refused to accept them because they felt they hadn't earned them. Kakashi decided to pass them based on their actions. Hiruzen then asked if Naruto had used any dark powers during the test. Kakashi confirmed that Naruto had unleashed a dark energy attack, which had devastating effects on the surrounding environment. Hiruzen acknowledged the danger of such a power and expressed concern about what could happen if Naruto ever turned against the village. Kakashi also noted Naruto's proficiency in lightning and wind styles, as well as his ability to engage in taijutsu without hand signs. He humorously speculated about Naruto's potential ability to move unseen. Hiruzen, serious now, hoped that Naruto didn't possess the ability to stop time, as that would make him even more formidable. He dismissed Kakashi, who left the office, while Hiruzen lamented the endless paperwork that came with his position. A month later, after a series of mundane D-rank missions, Team 7 grew frustrated with their assignments. In the Hokage's office, Hiruzen listed their next tasks, which included babysitting, shopping, and helping with potato digging. Sakura protested loudly, demanding more exciting missions, a sentiment echoed by Sasuke. Kakashi sighed, realizing this day would come eventually. Irika intervened, explaining that every ninja starts with simple duties and works their way up. Sakura argued that these chores wouldn't help them develop their skills, and Sasuke agreed, expressing concern that they would never grow stronger if they continued with such missions. Hiruzen began to explain the purpose of these duties, detailing how requests were categorized by difficulty and assigned based on a ninja's rank. He emphasized that D-rank missions were appropriate for newly minted genin. Naruto, eager for a challenge, requested a C-rank mission, believing it would provide valuable experience for the team. Hiruzen asked Kakashi if he thought they were ready for a C-rank mission, to which Kakashi confidently affirmed that he would handle any trouble that arose. Reluctantly, Hiruzen agreed to assign them a C-rank mission, which involved protecting a certain individual. The door opened, and Hiruzen introduced Tsunade, the man they were to protect. Tsunade looked at Team 7 with skepticism, doubting their abilities. How dare he insult me and Sasuke? Sakura felt a surge of anger and wanted to strike him, but Kakashi held her back. He urged her to calm down, reminding her that they were there to protect him, and there was no point in resorting to violence. Tsunade, the bridge builder, declared that he expected them to provide him with protection until he could return to his country and complete the bridge. Kakashi instructed the team to meet at the gate the next day, reminding them to bring their equipment and pack necessary supplies. The next day at the gate, Kakashi signaled for them to leave. Tsunade expressed his uncertainty about being safe with them. Kakashi reassured him that he was a jounin, capable of protecting him. Sakura then asked Tsunade if there were ninjas in the Wave Country. Naruto chimed in sarcastically, pointing out that Tsunade had come to their village for help, implying that there must be ninjas. Kakashi explained that while the Wave Country might not have ninjas, hidden villages existed in most other countries. As they walked past a puddle, Naruto sensed two signatures coming from it but chose not to act. Kakashi, however, realized it was an ambush waiting to happen. Suddenly, two ninjas emerged from the puddle and attacked Kakashi first with a chain. The others widened their eyes at the unexpected assault, except for Naruto, who remained calm. One of the attackers boasted about taking down Kakashi. Sakura screamed in shock, while the attackers turned their attention to Tsunade, declaring their intent to take him down as well. Naruto quickly reacted, urging Tsunade to duck. He summoned a spear of darkness that extended and struck one of the attackers. The attacker began to decay rapidly, leaving his partner in shock as he witnessed the transformation. Kakashi decided it was time to reveal himself. He swiftly restrained the remaining attacker, confirming to Sakura that he was indeed alive. Kakashi then pressed Tsunade for an explanation about why these ninjas were after him. Tsunade admitted he didn't know. Kakashi, with a smile, suggested they could leave Tsunade there if he had no answers. Tsunade, feeling the pressure, finally relented and mentioned a man named Gato. He explained that Gato ran a shipping company and had taken control of the Wave Country's shipping industry through money and violence. Tsunade was building the bridge, which put him in Gato's way. Sakura realized that Tsunade's efforts to build the bridge were directly opposing Gato's interests. Kakashi questioned why Tsunade hadn't hired stronger ninjas for protection if he knew he was in danger. Tsunade explained that the country was extremely poor, and even the feudal lord had no money, making it impossible to afford a higher-ranked mission. Despite the risks, Naruto declared his intention to help Tsunade, asserting that Gato did not deserve to live. Kakashi agreed to protect Tsunade at least until he could return to his country. They continued their journey until they reached a lake, where Tsunade's friend was waiting with a boat. After some time, they arrived on land and walked for a few minutes until Sasuke suddenly twitched and threw a kunai at a bush, only to have a white rabbit emerge. After finishing their meal, they went outside, and Kakashi announced that it was time to start training. He explained the concept of chakra, describing it as the energy a shinobi needed to perform jutsu. He elaborated that chakra consisted of two parts: physical energy from the body and spiritual energy gained through training and experiences. Sakura demonstrated her understanding of chakra, but Kakashi pointed out that they were not using it properly. He explained that controlling chakra was essential for effective jutsu, and without proper control, their techniques would be weakened. Kakashi then introduced a training exercise, tree climbing without using their hands. He demonstrated by walking up a tree, instructing them to gather chakra in their feet to climb. He emphasized that mastering this control would enable them to master any jutsu. Sakura questioned how learning to climb a tree would make them stronger. Kakashi explained that the purpose of the training was to teach them to control chakra accurately and develop the stamina needed for proper chakra management. He assured them that if they could learn this control, they would be able to master any jutsu they attempted. It can be very difficult for a ninja to gather their chakra during battle while constantly moving. Such situations make controlling chakra even more challenging. That's why, through this tree climbing exercise, one must gain the stamina necessary for proper control, Kakashi explained. He then took 3 kunai from his pocket and instructed his pupils to use them to mark how high they could climb the tree, setting that mark as their goal to surpass. Sasuke thought about finishing the training quickly, while Sakura hoped that Sasuke would compliment her if she succeeded fast. Meanwhile, Naruto threw the kunai back to Kakashi and began to walk away. Kakashi called out to him, reminding him of the exercise's benefits. Sasuke smirked, suggesting that such training might be too hard for Naruto. Just then, Naruto vanished in a shroud of darkness, impressing Kakashi with his body flicker technique. Sasuke wondered why Naruto had never shown such power during their time in the academy. After Naruto left, Sasuke focused on gathering his chakra and ran up the tree. As he took 4 steps, the tree cracked, but he managed to hold on. He reflected on how difficult it was to control his chakra, realizing that too much would cause the wood to crack, while too little would prevent him from sticking to it. Suddenly, he heard someone above him and looked up to see Sakura sitting on a high branch. He acknowledged her impressive control and stamina, feeling a twinge of frustration at his own struggles. Sakura, noticing Sasuke's gaze, shouted at Kakashi, worried that Sasuke would be upset with her. Sasuke, feeling annoyed, cursed under his breath. Meanwhile, Naruto wandered through the land of waves, observing the dire effects of Gato's rule. He saw starving children and adults, which filled him with sympathy. Kurama reminded him to push those feelings aside, warning that valuing the lives of others could activate his curse, leading to disastrous consequences. After a while, Naruto decided to rest in the forest. While he slept, a woman appeared, recognizing him as a potential threat. She considered eliminating him but hesitated, realizing that taking a life was wrong. Instead, she began picking herbs for Zabuza. When Naruto awoke, he startled her, and she instinctively got on guard. He assured her that he wouldn't resist if she tried to attack. She questioned why he hadn't defended himself, and he admitted that he was willing to die if it meant avoiding harm to others. Curious about her name, he introduced himself as Naruto. She revealed her name was Haku Yuki. Naruto shared his fear of hurting others, explaining that he possessed a curse that made him immortal but dangerous. When he demonstrated his ability by seemingly chopping off his own head, Haku was horrified, but he quickly healed, revealing the nature of his curse. He explained that it activated when he valued the lives of others, which he did not do. After their conversation, Naruto decided to leave, and Haku expressed her hope that he would find happiness one day. The next day at the bridge, Sakura felt bored and alone. Tsunade asked where Naruto and Sasuke were, and she explained that Sasuke was training while she was left to protect him. Suddenly, a coworker named Sato approached Tsunade, expressing his desire to stop working on the bridge due to the dangers posed by Gato. Tsunade insisted that the bridge was their last hope for the village, but Sato worried about their safety. As they continued their work, Sakura observed the village's struggles, noting the desperation of the people. Tsunade lamented the loss of hope among the adults since Gato's arrival, emphasizing the importance of completing the bridge as a symbol of courage and resilience. Later, as Team 7 enjoyed a meal at Tsunade's home, Inari burst in, upset and questioning the point of becoming stronger when death was inevitable. Tsunade explained that Inari had lost someone very close to him, which had changed his outlook on life. As Tsunade began to recount the tragic story of Kaiza, the hero of the village, Sakura listened with concern, wondering where Naruto had gone. Kakashi wondered about the absence of his student, who had left alone the previous night. He noticed that Sasuke had gone for a walk and hadn't returned yet. Sakura, concerned, spotted Sasuke perched atop a tree. Naruto appeared and remarked on Sasuke's mastery of the tree-climbing exercise. Sakura's eyes sparkled with admiration as she called out to Sasuke. Meanwhile, at Tsunade's place, Inari expressed his frustration during breakfast. He questioned why they were putting in so much effort when they were no match for Gata's men. Inari felt that they were intruding in matters they did not understand, lamenting the hardships of life in his country. Naruto, feeling the weight of Inari's words, responded that Inari was fortunate to have a strong mother and a brave grandfather. He urged Inari to face his problems instead of acting like a spoiled brat. Later, Kakashi approached Inari, who was sitting alone and gazing at the ocean. Kakashi explained that Naruto had faced hardships of his own, having grown up without parents and never having known friendship. He noted that despite his difficult past, Naruto had never complained. Kakashi suggested that Naruto might understand Inari's feelings better than anyone else. As the week progressed, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura walked to the bridge with Tsunade, while Naruto stayed behind, claiming he was tired. After they left, he created a clone to protect Tsunade and Inari and followed them. Upon arriving at the bridge, they found all the workers incapacitated. Tsunade, filled with dread, asked what had happened just as a dense mist enveloped the area. Sakura recognized the technique as Zabuza's hidden mist jutsu. Zabuza's voice echoed through the mist, taunting Kakashi and pointing out Sasuke's trembling form. Suddenly, 7 water clones of Zabuza surrounded them. Sasuke, feeling a thrill of excitement, prepared to engage. Kakashi encouraged him to take the lead. In a flash, Sasuke slashed through the water clones, which dissolved back into the water. Zabuza acknowledged Sasuke's skill, and Haku stepped forward. Ready for battle. Sasuke brandished a kunai while Haku wielded a sunbon needle. They clashed, each trying to find an opening in the other's defense. Haku calmly pointed out Sasuke's disadvantage, explaining that they were surrounded by water and that she had one hand free to attack. With a swift motion, Haku performed hand signs and unleashed her secret jutsu, 8,000 needles of death. Water droplets transformed into sharp needles, launching towards Sasuke. He evaded the attack by channeling chakra into his feet and leaping away. In mid-air, he threw shuriken, forcing Haku to backflip. Sasuke then declared that she would now have to defend against his onslaught. As their battle intensified, Sasuke managed to kick Haku, sending her back toward Zabuza, who was visibly shocked. Kakashi warned Zabuza that underestimating the young ninjas would be a mistake, as Sasuke was one of the village's best fighters and Sakura possessed a sharp mind. Zabuza, realizing the tide was turning, urged Haku to escalate their attack. Haku, now surrounded by purplish-blue streams of light, prepared her secret jutsu, crystal ice mirrors. Ice mirrors formed around them, and Haku vanished into one, reappearing in the others, projecting her image. Kakashi rushed to assist Sasuke but was blocked by Zabuza, who gleefully declared that Sasuke stood no chance against Haku. Haku taunted Sasuke, promising to show him true speed as needles flew from all directions. Sasuke was struck, and his kunai was knocked away. Sakura, witnessing Sasuke's peril, picked up a kunai and ran toward the mirror dome, calling out to him. Just as she threw the kunai, Haku intercepted it. Suddenly, a shuriken flew through the air, striking Haku's mask and leaving a mark. Back at Tazuna's house, Tsunade called for Inari to help in the kitchen. Inari, in his room, promised he would be there shortly. Suddenly, two bandits burst through the front door, causing Tsunade to scream as they attacked her. Hearing his mother's cry, Inari rushed down the stairs, peering cautiously around the corner to assess the situation. He called out for his mother, who urged him to flee for his safety. Tsunade shouted in distress. The bandit, a tall figure with an eye patch over his right eye and a white left eye, commanded her to stay still. He had brown hair styled in 3 parts, culminating in an elaborate topknot. His intricate tattoo stretched across his entire left side, complemented by stitched scars on his forehead and mouth. Dressed in a loose-fitting kimono that left his upper body exposed, he wore bandages around his waist, simple sandals, and carried a long sword. Clone Naruto observed from a tree, eager to see how Inari would respond. The second bandit, a light-skinned man with bluish-white hair and black eyes, remarked that their leader, Gato, had only requested one hostage. He wore a dark purple hat that extended far above his head, a blue jacket with multiple pockets, and had a blue-handled katana at his waist. The first bandit, excited, moved his hand toward his sword, expressing his eagerness to attack. Tsunade pleaded with them not to harm Inari, declaring that she would do anything to protect him. The second bandit taunted Inari, while the first lamented that he was in the mood for violence. The other bandit reminded him that they had already drawn blood that day. As Inari began to cry, he felt helpless and weak. However, he recalled Naruto's words about courage and thought of his family. Determined to be strong like them, he charged outside, demanding they let go of his mother. The first bandit, eager for action, asked if they could attack him, to which the second bandit agreed. Tsunade's desperate warning was cut short as the first bandit struck her from behind, dismissing her with a cruel comment. They attempted to harm Inari, but to their surprise, they found only a log in his place. One of the bandits realized it was a substitution. Clone Naruto leaped in to protect Inari and rescue Tsunade. He praised Inari for his bravery, noting that his distraction allowed him to save her, even if heroes often arrived at the last moment. Inari, wide-eyed, recognized Naruto as one of the ninjas hired by the old man. The first bandit insulted Naruto, who responded with a request for him to perish. In a swift motion, Naruto dispatched the first bandit, leaving the second in fear. As he attempted to flee, Naruto let him believe he had escaped. He then commended Inari for his bravery, but Inari, overwhelmed with emotion, began to cry again, lamenting his promise not to shed tears. Clone Naruto reassured him that it was all right to cry if it was out of happiness before disappearing in a shroud of darkness. The fleeing bandit, terrified, muttered that Naruto was a monster, only to be confronted by Naruto, who swiftly eliminated him. On the bridge, Naruto decided to assist Sasuke by throwing a shuriken that struck his opponent's mask. Everyone turned to see Naruto, arms crossed, declaring his presence. Kakashi welcomed Naruto and instructed him to support Sasuke. Naruto teleported to Sasuke and asked what he knew about their enemy's jutsu. Sasuke explained that his opponent used mirrors to move at incredible speeds, making it seem as though he was everywhere at once. Naruto inquired if Sasuke had tried fire jutsus, to which Sasuke replied that they had been ineffective. Determined, Naruto announced his own jutsu, fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu, launching a massive fireball at a mirror. However, when the flames subsided, it was clear that nothing had changed. Sasuke smugly pointed out the failure, prompting Naruto to resort to Plan B, Shadow Clone Jutsu. 15 clones appeared, each ready to attack the mirrors. Naruto encouraged Sasuke to observe closely, hoping he would activate his Sharingan. Sasuke focused intently, witnessing Haku's movements as the clones were destroyed. His eyes widened in alarm when he saw Haku launch 5 needles toward Naruto's vital areas. Reacting instinctively, Sasuke pushed Naruto out of the way, taking the needles himself just as his Sharingan activated. Naruto was taken aback by Sasuke's sacrifice, questioning why he would do such a thing. Sasuke, weak and bleeding, explained that he acted on instinct, despite his previous disdain for Naruto. As he collapsed, he made a heartfelt request for Naruto to avenge his clan, which had been destroyed by his brother. Understanding Sasuke's pain, Naruto vowed to honor his request. Naruto wore a fake smile as he addressed Sasuke, who thanked him before closing his eyes. Seeing Sasuke unconscious, Haku emerged from the mirror and spoke to Naruto, questioning whether they were going to fight. Naruto responded confidently, revealing some of Kurama's power, which made Haku wonder about the dark, sinister chakra he sensed. Meanwhile, Kakashi felt the surge of the Nine Tails' power and realized that Naruto was losing control. He knew he had to act quickly. Drawing a scroll, he swiped some blood from his jacket onto it, twirled it, and placed it on his knuckles while forming hand signs. He then slammed it onto the ground, invoking the ninja art summoning earth style, Fang Pursuit Jutsu. Little markings rushed toward Zabuza, and when they reached him, ninja hounds burst from the ground, clamping onto Zabuza's neck and limbs. Kakashi declared that he had Zabuza captured and formed his original jutsu, the Lightning Blade. He confronted Zabuza, expressing his determination to protect Tsunade, a brave man helping the village recover. Zabuza retorted, questioning why he should care about Tsunade's dreams. Kakashi countered that to have a dream, one needed a future, and Zabuza's future was at its end. He charged forward, but Haku, realizing Zabuza was in trouble, used the body flicker technique to appear in front of Kakashi. Kakashi, unable to cancel his attack in time, moved his hand holding the jutsu into Haku's chest, causing his summons to vanish. Zabuza coldly remarked that Haku had been a useful tool until the end. Naruto, having appeared, challenged Zabuza's view, questioning how he could so devalue Haku's life. A book materialized in Naruto's hand, displaying Haku's name on the cover, and her body was drawn into it. Zabuza, filled with anger, demanded to know what Naruto had done to her. Naruto, unfazed, suggested that Zabuza should take his own advice about treating her as a tool. Zabuza pointed his blade threateningly at Naruto, who boldly told him to go ahead and cut off his head. Meanwhile, Sakura rushed to Sasuke's side, crying over his body, believing him to be dead. Moments later, he stirred, telling her it was hard to breathe with her leaning on him. She hugged him tighter before he asked where Naruto was. Time passed, and Team 7 completed around 30 D-rank missions as the Chunin exams approached. Kakashi gathered his team, making a rare appearance on time, likely to avoid upsetting Sakura. They stood on a small bridge, where Kakashi expressed his pride in them, announcing that he had recommended them for the Chunin exams. He instructed them to submit their applications the following day at the academy before disappearing with the body flicker technique. Sasuke walked off, with Sakura trailing behind, still trying to get his attention. Naruto decided to head home but soon heard Konohamaru yelling for help. He rushed to the scene, finding Temari and Kankuro, with Kankuro gripping Konohamaru's scarf tightly. Temari urged Kankuro to let him go, but Kankuro insisted they had time to have some fun. Naruto stepped in, complimenting Temari while insulting Kankuro, which surprised her and angered Kankuro. Kankuro, offended, prepared to teach Naruto a lesson. However, Naruto quickly appeared behind Kankuro, pressing a kunai against his neck and advising him to listen to Temari. Kankuro released Konohamaru, who quickly moved away. Naruto then pulled out what appeared to be a mummy from his back. Temari, concerned, asked if Kankuro intended to use the crow for this. A voice suddenly echoed, sounding bored, declaring Kankuro an embarrassment to their village. Gaara then appeared in a swirl of sand, startling Kankuro. Gaara turned to Naruto, acknowledging him as Shikaku's vessel and apologizing for his brother's behavior. Naruto reassured Gaara that he didn't need to apologize but advised him to keep Kankuro in check. Gaara inquired about Naruto's name, and Naruto introduced himself, revealing his former name. Gaara asked if Naruto planned to participate in the Chunin exams, to which Naruto replied he was considering it. Gaara ominously stated he looked forward to killing Naruto, who responded with equal anticipation. As Naruto vanished, Kankuro thought to himself that Naruto was both crazy and handsome, lamenting that he would likely meet his end at Gaara's hands. The next day, Naruto met up with Sasuke and Sakura on their way to the academy. Upon reaching the second floor, they witnessed Rock Lee being overwhelmed by two guards. Suddenly, a punch was aimed at Tenten, but Naruto swiftly intervened, blocking the attack and reminding the assailant that it was unkind to hit a lady. Onlookers were astonished by Naruto's speed. Sasuke approached, suggesting the guards drop their genjutsu, which prompted one of the guards to charge at him. In an instant, Lee appeared between both of them and stopped them with his hands. Sasuke thought about the impressive chakra emanating from Lee's arm. Neji, a boy with piercing white eyes tinged with lavender, approached Lee. He had long black hair tied back, fair skin, and wore a black headband snugly over his forehead, along with a khaki shirt, dark brown shorts, and blue shinobi sandals. Bandages wrapped around his right arm, chest, and leg. Lee hesitated, glancing at Sakura, and blushed. He introduced himself as Rock Lee and asked Sakura to be his girlfriend, vowing to protect her with his life. Sakura firmly declined, expressing her thoughts on Lee's unusual demeanor. This made Lee a bit sad, prompting laughter from Naruto. Neji turned his attention to Sasuke, asking for his name. Sasuke pointed out that it was common courtesy to introduce oneself first. Neji, curious about Sasuke's age, pressed for an answer, but Sasuke refused to comply. Sakura then suggested they move on to the examination room, but Lee stopped them. Lee confronted Sasuke, expressing his desire to fight right there and then. Sasuke was taken aback by Lee's challenge and acknowledged that he was aware of the Uchiha clan's reputation. Lee, eager to test his skills, declared his challenge, stating that he wanted to see if the rumors about the Uchiha clan were true. He also confessed his feelings for Sakura, who reacted strongly against his affections. Sasuke, unimpressed by Lee's enthusiasm, warned him about the Uchiha clan's reputation. Lee, undeterred, accepted the challenge, eager to prove himself to his sensei, Guy. Sasuke finally agreed to the fight, and Lee warned him to take it seriously, claiming to be the strongest genin in the leaf. The battle commenced, and Sasuke attacked, but was swiftly met with Lee's leaf whirlwind, sending him flying backward. As Sasuke recovered, he activated his Sharingan, hoping to decipher Lee's techniques. However, Lee explained that his skills were based on taijutsu or martial arts, making the Sharingan ineffective in this scenario. Lee prepared for his next move, but a large turtle intervened, seemingly reprimanding him for using a forbidden technique. Might Guy, Lee's actual sensei, appeared atop the turtle and playfully punched Lee across the face as a form of punishment, then hugged him tightly, shedding tears. Team 7 was left in shock, and Sasuke struggled to comprehend being bested by someone he considered unusual. Guy inquired about his eternal rival, Kakashi, boasting about his superior record against him. He claimed to be faster and stronger than Kakashi. After Guy departed, Lee admitted that he was not the strongest genin. That title belonged to his teammate, Neji Hyuga. Naruto explained to Sasuke that Lee's training regimen was more rigorous than his own. With that, the team shifted their focus to the upcoming Chunin exams. After the fight, Team 7 and Lee headed to room 301, where the first phase of the Chunin exam would take place. Upon arrival, They were greeted by Kiba, who remarked on the gathering of rookies. Ino unexpectedly hugged Sasuke from behind, causing Sakura to react with frustration, leading to a brief commotion. Shikamaru, accompanied by Choji, commented on the situation, expressing his usual laid-back demeanor. Naruto, half-jokingly, remarked on Shikamaru's tendency to avoid work. Shikamaru countered by noting Naruto's similar laziness during their academy days. Naruto mentioned he was there because someone had promised to kill him, leaving Shikamaru uncertain whether he was joking. A boy with black eyes and gray hair tied in a ponytail, wearing circular glasses, interrupted them, advising them to keep their voices down as they were attracting attention. He introduced himself as Kabuto Yakushi, addressing the rookie genin. Kabuto offered to share information about the exam participants and his own streak of failures, while also making disparaging remarks about the Sound Village. Sasuke requested information on Gaara of the Desert, Rock Lee, and Naruto Uzumaki. Kabuto began with Gaara, revealing that his teammates were Temari and Kankuro, and noted Gaara's impressive record of completing missions without sustaining any injuries. The genin were stunned by this revelation. Kabuto then moved on to Rock Lee, mentioning his teammates Neji Hyuga and Tenten, and his sensei, Might Guy. He noted Lee's dramatic improvement in taijutsu over the past year, while his other skills remained underdeveloped. He had completed 20D ranks and 11C ranks. Just as Kabuto was about to read Naruto's information, Naruto snatched the card and tore it apart. He believed that personal information should not be shared without permission. Shikamaru grew suspicious of Kabuto, noting that he possessed classified information typically reserved for a Kage. One of the Sound Genin, a boy with spiky dark hair and dark eyes, remarked that they had been called Little. He wore a beige shirt adorned with black stripes and prints that read, Death, down the front, along with a forehead protector that had a face guard. Like his teammates, he sported a snake-patterned scarf around his neck. Another Sound Genin, whose face was mostly covered in bandages except for one eye, suggested they teach Naruto a lesson. He wore a large poncho with long sleeves and a straw raincoat protruding from the back of his scarf, appearing smaller than he actually was due to his hunched posture. The Sound team dashed around the room, and the first boy threw a kunai at Kabuto, who jumped back to avoid it. In an instant, the bandaged genin revealed a gauntlet and swung his fist, narrowly missing Kabuto. Kabuto stood up, only to have his glasses break. He realized the nature of the attack and removed his glasses, but suddenly clutched his stomach in pain, coughing up blood. Sakura expressed concern for Kabuto's well-being, asking if he was all right. The Sound ninja who had thrown the kunai declared that the genin of the Sound would all become Chunin by the end of the exam. Suddenly, a large cloud of smoke enveloped the room, revealing about 16 Leaf Ninja as the smoke dissipated. The imposing figure in the center, grinning sadistically, introduced himself as Ibiki Marino, the first proctor of the Chunin exams and, at that moment, their worst nightmare. Ibiki announced the start of the first test in the Chunin exam. He instructed the participants to select a number and take their seats accordingly. As he explained the important rules, he wrote them on the board, stating that questions would not be allowed, so everyone needed to listen carefully. He explained that the test operated on a point deduction system. Each participant started with a perfect score of 10 points, but answering 3 questions incorrectly would reduce their score to 7. Any instance of cheating would result in a 2-point deduction, and being caught cheating 5 times would lead to failure. The sentinels positioned around the room were there to monitor for cheating. Furthermore, teams would be scored together, meaning if one member received a 0, the entire team would fail. The 10th question would be given out in 45 minutes. Sakura felt a wave of anxiety wash over her, fearing that Naruto might fail the test. She still viewed him as somewhat foolish. With Ibiki's command, the test began, and everyone started reading the questions. Many quickly realized they did not know the answers and concluded that cheating was their only option. Various methods of cheating emerged, from using Jujutsu to employing pets and jutsus to find answers. Naruto, however, relied on his own knowledge, scribbling down random answers. He felt a sense of accomplishment as he finished. Just as he leaned back, a kunai whizzed past his face and struck the test paper of the person behind him. The startled genin questioned what had just happened, while a Chunin informed him that he had failed the test after 5 strikes. The trend of failure continued, with many teams dropping out, totaling about 15. As the time for the 10th question approached, Kankuro returned just as Ibiki was preparing to announce it. Ibiki greeted him with a grin, teasing about his trip to the bathroom. Kankuro, appearing nervous, returned to his seat, dropping a tiny rolled-up scroll near Temari. Ibiki then cautioned everyone not to let the rules intimidate. He explained that each participant could choose not to answer the 10th question, but if they did so, they would receive a 0, resulting in failure for their entire team. Murmurs spread through the room as participants expressed their intent to take the question. Ibiki continued, stating that if they chose to answer the question and got it wrong, they and their teammates would be barred from taking the Chunin exams forever. Kiba voiced his frustration, pointing out that many had taken the exam before without such consequences. Ibiki chuckled, asserting that he was now the one making the rules. He encouraged those who felt uncertain to skip the question and return next year. He then asked those who did not wish to take the question to raise their hands, assuring them their numbers would be recorded, allowing them to leave. As time passed, the person next to Naruto declared he was out, apologizing to his teammates. This prompted many others to quit. Sakura observed Naruto, convinced he would not raise his hand. She thought to herself that she could not let him make such a decision. Noticing Sakura's action, Naruto raised his hand first, declaring he was not quitting but simply wanted Ibiki to ask the 10th question, feeling that they were wasting time. Ibiki warned that this decision could change their lives and reiterated that if anyone preferred to quit, now was their last chance. Naruto insisted on hearing the question, challenging Ibiki to stop trying to intimidate them. A random Chunin applicant called them all idiots for thinking Ibiki had the authority to ban them from the Chunin exams for life. Shikamaru added that only the Hokage or a Kage could make such a decision. After this exchange, the Chunin candidates decided to stay, emboldened by Naruto's words. His confidence had inspired them to persevere. 78 remained, more than Ibiki had expected, yet no one showed signs of wavering. He observed the candidates around him and nodded to the Chunin beside him, who returned the gesture. He admired their determination and informed them that there was only one thing left to do. They had all passed the first exam. Sakura, puzzled, questioned where the 10th question was. Ibiki explained that there hadn't been a written one. Their decision to stay was the answer to the 10th question. Temari, still confused, asked if that meant the other 9 questions were a waste of time. Ibiki clarified that they served a crucial purpose. The first 9 questions were designed to test their ability to gather strategic intelligence under pressure. He elaborated that the goal was to see how well they functioned as a team, emphasizing that their actions impacted their teammates. The difficulty of the first 9 questions was intentional, as he anticipated many would resort to cheating to pass. In fact, the test was structured to encourage such behavior, and he had 2 Chunin disguised among them to observe. Those caught cheating were eliminated. Ibiki emphasized the importance of gathering accurate information, as it could be the difference between success and failure in battle. Sasuke whispered to himself about the scars and injuries Ibiki had endured, which were visible when he removed his forehead protector. Ibiki continued, stressing the importance of considering the source of information, as intelligence from the enemy could be misleading and potentially disastrous. Temari expressed her confusion about the 10th question again, prompting Ibiki to explain that it was the essence of the exam. The final question presented 2 difficult choices: play it safe and fail, or take a risk and potentially remain a genin forever. He provided a hypothetical scenario about retrieving a sacred document guarded by unknown numbers of ninja, emphasizing that Chunin often faced seemingly impossible missions. The qualities of courage and discipline were essential for a Chunin squad leader. Those who chose the safer path and prioritized their own safety over their comrades' lives would never be able to call themselves Chunin under his watch. Having successfully answered the 10 questions, the candidates had earned the right to proceed to the next step. Ibiki declared the first part of the Chunin selection exams complete and wished them good luck. Suddenly, something flew through the window. 2 kunai attached to a cloth struck the roof, and a figure emerged. She had light brown, pupilless eyes and violet hair styled in a short, spiky ponytail. Her attire included a tan overcoat, a fitted mesh bodysuit, a dark orange miniskirt, and a leaf forehead protector. A pendant resembling a snake fang hung from a thick cord around her neck, and she wore a wristwatch and shin guards. Anko Mitarashi introduced herself as the next proctor, stating that it wasn't the time to celebrate. Ibiki acknowledged her entrance, and she teased him about the number of candidates who had passed, suggesting his test had been too easy. He countered that it could be a stronger group of candidates this year. Anko, with a mischievous grin, assured him that more than half would be eliminated under her watch. Sakura felt a wave of fear at the thought of such a high elimination rate. Anko relished the challenge, declaring that the candidates had had it easy so far, but things were about to change. She instructed them to go home and informed them that their squad leaders would be notified about where to meet her for the second exam before dismissing them. The next day, the genin stood before a forest surrounded by towering metal gates, locked and marked with warning signs. Kiba expressed his curiosity about the place, and Anko informed them that they were at the 44th Battle Training Zone, known as the Forest of Death. Sakura felt a chill at the name, and Anko grinned, hinting that they would soon discover why it was called that. Naruto, trying to lighten the mood, mocked the ominous name, but the tension in the air was palpable. What was so dangerous about this place, Naruto wondered. Anko smiled, sensing his bravado, and threw a kunai that grazed his cheek. In an instant she flickered behind him, remarking that it was always the cocky ones who faced dire consequences. Naruto, unfazed, declared that he didn't mind dying at all. The other Chunin candidates thought he was crazy. Shikamaru recalled Naruto's earlier words about his reasons for participating in the Chunin exams, questioning if Naruto truly wanted to meet his end. Anko, stepping back, began to explain the test. Before they started, Anko informed them that they needed to sign a standard consent form, stating that if they died, neither the Leaf Village nor she would be held responsible. She laughed, adding that the test was a survival challenge where they needed to navigate through the battle zone. Each team would enter through one of the 44 entrances and make their way to a locked tower at the center. To pass, they needed to acquire 2 scrolls, one labeled Heaven and the other Earth, and reach the tower with all their teammates. Sasuke asked if they needed both scrolls, to which Anko confirmed that half the teams would pursue the Heaven scroll while the other half would go after the Earth scroll. She emphasized one crucial rule: they must never open either scroll. The genin signed the forms, and Anko assigned them to their respective gates. As the time approached 3 p.m., all the genin gathered at their gate, waiting for the signal. When the countdown reached 10 seconds, Anko shouted that the second test would begin. The gates swung open, and the teams rushed in. Just 5 minutes later, the screams of a team echoed from the forest. Anko thought to herself that the excitement had begun and wondered how Naruto would fare. Meanwhile, Team 7 was strategizing. Sakura asked what they should do, and Naruto suggested heading straight for the tower, ready to confront any teams they encountered. Sasuke agreed and they set off. As they moved toward the tower, Naruto sensed someone following them, alerting Sakura and Sasuke. Suddenly, a sword, seemingly wielded by a tongue, flew through the air, narrowly missing Naruto but leaving him shaken. Sakura and Sasuke were horrified, believing their teammate to be in grave danger. Sasuke called out for the attacker to reveal themselves, and a grass ninja emerged, taunting them about granting Naruto's wish for death. The ninja's killing intent paralyzed Sakura and Sasuke, leaving them unable to move. Taking advantage of their fear, Orochimaru approached Sasuke and marked him with a curse, leaving him unconscious. Sakura, still shaken, asked who he was, and Orochimaru introduced himself before vanishing. She realized the gravity of the situation, lamenting that she couldn't bury Naruto but needed to get Sasuke to safety. She picked him up and hurried away. Moments later, Naruto regenerated, feeling as good as new. He wondered where Sakura and Sasuke had gone and decided to find a scroll first. As he moved, he encountered a hidden rain team. One of the rain ninjas mocked him, suggesting he hand over his scroll. Naruto laughed, challenging them about what they would do if he refused. The rain ninja unleashed a technique that sent a flurry of Senbon toward Naruto, hitting him and causing him to collapse. The ninja, believing him defeated, approached to search for the scroll. However, he heard a whisper from Naruto, threatening him. Suddenly, a dark spear fell from above, piercing the Rain Ninja's head, causing panic among his teammates. Naruto stood up, his wounds healed, and confronted the remaining ninjas. They were astonished by his recovery, but he dismissed their questions and unleashed a dark wave of energy, defeating them instantly. After claiming the scroll from the fallen ninja, he set off to find his teammates. Eventually, Naruto arrived at a clearing where he found Sasuke and Lee unconscious, Sakura injured and bleeding, Choji battered but standing, and Ino passed out in Shikamaru's arms. The area was in disarray, with trees stripped of branches from fierce battles. Just as Naruto was about to intervene, Sasuke rose, enveloped in purple chakra and marked with strange symbols. He calmly asked Sakura who had harmed her. One of the Sound Ninjas boasted that they were responsible and threatened that Sasuke would suffer the same fate. Zaku, one of the Sound Ninjas, unleashed a powerful attack, but when the dust settled, Sasuke had vanished. Zaku, feeling confident, was suddenly struck from behind by Sasuke, who had reappeared and swiftly dislocated Zaku's arms. Sasuke then turned his attention to Dosu, who pleaded for mercy, suggesting a trade of scrolls for their lives. Just then, Naruto appeared, holding the scroll he had obtained, and dismissed their offer, leaving the Sound Ninjas to reconsider their choices. They would fight, Dosu declared as he picked up his teammates and left. Sakura was surprised to see Naruto alive, having thought he had died. Sasuke shared her astonishment. Naruto explained that it was merely his clone that had perished, though Shikamaru and Sasuke could sense he was not being truthful. Naruto urged them to move towards the tower, placing a hand on both Sakura and Sasuke's shoulders before they vanished together. Neji pondered the dark chakra that Sasuke had used and questioned why Naruto had lied. He and Tenten descended from the tree where they had been observing, taking Lee with them as they departed. After a brief rest, Team 9 also set off. Upon arriving at the tower, Sakura recounted the ambush by Orochimaru, how Sasuke had been bitten, and her attempts to fend off the Sound Ninja until Lee and Team 10 arrived. Naruto reminded Sakura that if she did not train, she would only be a burden to the team. Although she was about to argue, Naruto whispered that Sasuke would take more interest in her if she became stronger. They decided to enter the tower, where they found a scroll hanging from the wall. Sakura began to read it aloud, revealing a message about acquiring wisdom and training the body to prepare for challenges. She noted that a word seemed to be missing, suggesting they should open the scrolls. As Naruto and Sasuke each opened one, smoke erupted, and a figure emerged once it cleared. Sasuke recognized the figure as Iruka, who greeted them with a smile. Iruka explained that he was there to welcome them back and congratulate them on passing the second phase of the Chunin exams. He elaborated on the exam's purpose, emphasizing the importance of integrity among ninjas. After his message, he bid them farewell, and they moved into the tower's inner area. Naruto discovered that Kiba's team and Gaara's team had already arrived. With 2 days remaining until the exams concluded, he decided to return home. The next morning, Naruto returned to the tower and eventually made his way to the arena for the preliminaries. Gaara appeared behind him, addressing Naruto in his usual monotone. Naruto acknowledged him without turning around. Gaara expressed his anticipation for their confrontation, and Naruto chuckled, eager to see what would unfold. Gaara vanished with a flicker of movement. After Gaara's departure, Shikamaru approached Naruto with a serious demeanor. Instead of asking a question, he decided to investigate for himself, pulling out a kunai. As he drew closer, Naruto remained unfazed, smiling at Shikamaru. When Shikamaru was directly in front of him, he stabbed Naruto in the neck, only to witness the wound heal almost instantly. Shikamaru realized the truth: Naruto was immortal. Although he had his suspicions since the beginning of the exam, he confirmed it now. Naruto explained that he had attempted to resurrect someone he cared about and had been punished for it before disappearing. Meanwhile, Kabuto met with Orochimaru before the next stage of the exams, providing him with intel on Sasuke. Orochimaru reflected on Naruto's survival, noting that it was likely a clone he had killed and expressing disappointment that the fourth son could have died so easily. Days later, The second phase of the exams concluded, with the remaining teams including Team 7, 8, and 10, Guy's team, the Sound team, the Sand team, and Kabuto's team. They gathered in the arena, where the Hokage stood before them with their Jounin senseis. He explained that the Chunin exams were designed not only to test the ninjas but also to foster relationships among the nations. Gaara interrupted, demanding to know the details of the exam. The Hokage began to explain when Hayate stepped forward, requesting to speak first. He justified the need for preliminaries due to the large number of participants and the presence of important nobles and feudal lords who would be observing. The preliminaries would consist of sudden death elimination matches, with only the winners advancing to the third exam. Hayate warned that there were no rules, and fights would continue until one participant either conceded or was unable to continue. Kabuto chose to withdraw, but the others remained determined. Sakura expressed her concern for Sasuke, who insisted that he fought to test himself against the best. Sakura pleaded with him not to suffer, but Sasuke coldly replied that he was an avenger, and his goal was to face the strongest opponents. Naruto playfully reminded Sasuke that Sakura cared about him and didn't need to be harsh. Sasuke admitted that Naruto was one of the fighters he wanted to face most, and they exchanged grins as the preliminaries prepared to begin. Naturally, those who are losing are encouraged to quit to avoid a dire outcome. As the proctor, Hayate would intervene if the situation seemed hopeless, aiming to save as many lives as possible. He then announced that they would soon discover what fate awaited the competitors. Enko issued a command, and a panel on the back wall opened, revealing a screen. Hayate explained that the panel would display the names of 2 competitors chosen completely at random. With that, he concluded that it was time to begin. The screen cycled through names and landed on Kankuro versus Misumi, Kabuto's teammate. Kankuro secured an easy victory against Misumi by tricking him into attacking Karasu, Kankuro's puppet. In retaliation, Karasu swiftly incapacitated Misumi, who managed to survive due to his unique ability to contort his body. Next up was Choji against Dosu. Choji employed his human bullet tank technique, believing he was safe from Dosu's sound attacks. However, Dosu struck back and defeated him with a single blow. Following that, Sakura faced off against Ino. The two began their battle immediately, but neither could land a successful hit. Neji observed their fighting skills and questioned if this was the best the kunoichi could offer. Ten interjected, clarifying that their lack of effectiveness stemmed not from their gender but from their reluctance to fully engage. Sakura, unwilling to lose and frustrated by Ino's restraint, hurled insults at her. A flashback revealed Ino teaching Sakura about the significance of flowers in an arrangement. She used the cosmos flower as an example, explaining how thorough work complemented it. Sakura questioned if that meant she was merely there to enhance Ino's beauty, but Ino reassured her that Sakura was a bud waiting to bloom. Another memory surfaced, where Sakura told Ino that wearing her forehead protector properly was essential to becoming a true shinobi. After exchanging barbs, Sakura removed her forehead protector and placed it on her forehead, while Ino did the same. As true rivals, they charged at each other, finally committing to the battle. Sakura and Ino continued to trade blows, neither gaining the upper hand as they exhausted their chakra. Sakura criticized Ino for focusing too much on beauty instead of honing her kunoichi skills, prompting Ino to cut her hair and throw it to the ground in frustration. Desperate, Ino decided to use her mind-body transfer technique to force Sakura to forfeit, despite knowing its inaccuracy and the risk of being left immobile if it missed. Sakura dodged the initial attempt, seemingly victorious, but found herself ensnared by strands of Ino's cut hair, infused with chakra to form a binding rope. Ino revealed that she had pretended to miss on purpose, leading Sakura into the trap. With renewed determination, Ino used mind-body transfer again, this time succeeding in taking control of Sakura's body. Ino attempted to make Sakura forfeit the match, but just then, Naruto shouted at her not to give up. This prompted inner Sakura to emerge, forcing Ino out of her head. Although confused, Ino lacked the energy to try again. Kakashi noted that Ino's depleted chakra contributed to Sakura's narrow victory, but he also recognized Sakura's strong will. They both charged at each other for a final exchange, resulting in a double knockout. Heist decided that neither would advance to the next round. Next, Sasuke faced Yoroi. As Kakashi passed by, he warned Sasuke not to use his Sharingan, cautioning that if the cursed seal took over, he would have to intervene. Sasuke felt a surge of fear at the thought of being unable to fight. Yoroi, whose features were mostly hidden by a mask and sunglasses, wore the standard attire of his team, which included a high-collared, sleeveless navy blue shirt and fingerless gloves. With the match officially announced, Sasuke jumped back and drew a kunai, while Yoroi surrounded his hand with chakra and flung 3 shuriken at Sasuke. Sasuke countered with his kunai, deflecting the shuriken. Frustration welled up in Sasuke as he realized the cursed seal was affecting his chakra. Yoroi charged at him, declaring that he was now in control. Sasuke attempted to sweep Yoroi's leg, but Yoroi countered by grabbing Sasuke's collar, leaving him feeling weak. Yoroi intended to strike Sasuke's solar plexus, but Sasuke managed to slip away just in time. Yoroi then leapt up, grabbing Sasuke by the head and pushing him to the ground. Sasuke gasped, realizing the extent of his chakra drain. As he struggled, memories of his past failures flooded his mind: Zabuza, Naruto, the Grass Ninja, and Itachi. Doubts crept in as he questioned his own strength. Hearing Naruto's voice in his head ignited a fire within him, reminding him that he couldn't afford to lose to someone he deemed weak. Determined not to be defeated, Sasuke coiled his legs and pushed Yoroi off him. He then charged forward, flipping onto his hands and delivering a powerful kick that sent Yoroi soaring into the air. Utilizing the dancing leaf shadow technique, Sasuke appeared behind Yoroi mid-flight. Acknowledging that he borrowed the move, he declared that everything from here on would be original as he swung his leg to kick Yoroi in the ribs. Yoroi blocked the attack, but it served as a distraction. Sasuke seized the moment, swinging his arm up to strike Yoroi in the neck, sending him flying down. Sasuke, determined, kicked him further and executed a powerful axe kick, slamming him onto the floor while calling out, "Lion's Barrage." Heist observed the scene, noting that Yoroi was unconscious while Sasuke remained conscious but fatigued. He announced Sasuke as the winner. Kakashi appeared behind Sasuke, urging him to leave quickly to get the curse mark sealed. Sasuke questioned if they could wait until after the matches, but Kakashi, with his signature eye smile, insisted they had to go now. After they departed, the board displayed the next match. Heist called for the contestants, announcing next match: Shino Aburame vs. Zaku Orochimaru. Will the contestants please come down? Sasuke and Kakashi found themselves in a dimly lit room, illuminated only by candles. Sasuke sat shirtless in the center of a large seal array. Kakashi explained that the seal he was about to place on Sasuke would seal the curse mark, but its strength depended on Sasuke's willpower. After performing several hand signs, Kakashi initiated the sealing process. Sasuke cried out as the kanji symbols crawled across the floor and his body, enveloping the curse mark before he lost consciousness. In the arena, Shino stood calmly, addressing Zaku with his usual stoic demeanor. He warned Zaku that if he fought, he wouldn't be able to recover and should consider forfeiting. Zaku, feeling defiant, boasted about having some movement in his left arm and aimed it at Shino, declaring that one good arm was all he needed to win. He charged forward, attempting to punch Shino, but Shino effortlessly blocked the attack, reiterating that Zaku couldn't defeat him. Zaku, frustrated, unleashed a technique called Slicing Sound Wave, releasing a powerful gust of air from the hole in his palm that sent Shino flying back. Suddenly, Orochimaru emerged from behind a pillar, commenting on Kakashi's growth and his ability to perform the curse sealing. Kakashi, on guard, demanded to know Orochimaru's intentions. Orochimaru revealed that he was not there for Kakashi but had business with Sasuke, expressing envy over Kakashi's Sharingan and suggesting that he desired the power of the Uchiha for himself. Back in the arena, Shino maintained his focus, standing tall against Z. He pointed out that Zaku was trapped, with only one usable arm to attack him. Zaku looked behind him, startled to see a swarm of bugs. Shino explained that Zaku's options were limited. Attacking him would invite the bugs' assault, while targeting the bugs would leave him vulnerable. Shino began gathering his chakra, preparing for the next move. Orochimaru continued to elaborate on his plans, indicating that the Sound Village was his domain and that he needed willing pawns for his game. Kakashi pressed for clarification, asking if Sasuke was one of those pawns. Orochimaru clarified that Sasuke was far more valuable than a mere pawn. Zaku, feeling emboldened, noticed movement in his other arm. He pulled it out of the sling, claiming he had an ace in the hole. He aimed both arms at Shino and the bugs, shouting, "Slicing sound wave." However, nothing emerged from his palms and instead, his arms were blasted off at the elbows. In pain, Zaku cried out, confused by what had happened. Shino appeared behind him, revealing that he had plugged up Zaku's arms to prevent any tricks. He then delivered a decisive punch to Zaku's back, sending him sprawling to the ground, nearly unconscious. Heiei checked on Zaku before announcing Shino as the winner. Orochimaru stepped closer to Sasuke, prompting Kakashi to charge up a lightning blade in warning. Kakashi declared that if Orochimaru took another step, one of them would perish, regardless of Orochimaru's status as a legendary ninja. Orochimaru laughed, acknowledging Kakashi's bravery but deeming it foolish. He warned that Sasuke, driven by vengeance, would eventually seek him out for power. As he walked away, he added a final note, suggesting that Kakashi's threat to kill him was not to be taken lightly, releasing a hint of bloodlust. Kakashi, though terrified, maintained his stance, determined to protect Sasuke. Once Orochimaru vanished from sight, Kakashi reflected on his own words, realizing the gravity of the situation. He then took Sasuke to the hospital. Upon arriving, Kakashi used body flicker to appear behind Naruto, who eagerly asked about Sasuke's condition. Kakashi reassured him that Sasuke was fine, but he whispered a request for Naruto to go easy on his next opponent. The story continued with Shikamaru facing Kin. Shikamaru attempted the shadow imitation technique, but Kin easily evaded and threw Sunban with bells attached. Recognizing her strategy, Shikamaru mocked her for using such basic techniques. As Kin rang the bells, initiating her genjutsu, Shikamaru found himself caught and unable to move. However, when Kin tried to attack again, she realized she was unable to move either. Shikamaru revealed that he had extended his technique through the shadows of the wires she held. He then threw a shuriken at Kin, who instinctively imitated his movement. When Shikamaru ducked to evade the shuriken, Kin mirrored him, unaware that she was too close to the wall. She struck her head against it, knocking herself out. In another match, Tenten made the first move against Temari, who skillfully dodged the Team Guy was astonished that no weapon could even touch Temari. Tenten attempted another attack, which Temari effortlessly repelled using the wind from her giant folding fan. Temari warned Tenten that if she revealed all 3 stars in her fan, the fight would be over. Tenten activated her twin rising dragons technique, uncovering the 2nd star, but Temari countered the attack. Tenten then utilized strings to reuse her weapons. As Tenten uncovered the 3rd star, Temari repelled the attack and ensnared Tenten in a cyclone. When Tenten fell from the cyclone, Temari made her land on her fan, rendering her unconscious. After being declared the winner, Temari attempted to throw Tenten onto the numerous weapons scattered on the floor, but Rock Lee swooped down and caught her. He then charged at Temari, only to be halted by Might Guy, who cautioned the Suna shinobi not to underestimate Lee. In the match between Kiba and Gaara, Kiba immediately forfeited. During the 2nd phase, he witnessed Gaara's ruthless nature, which irritated Gaara. Next was Naruto against Lee. As they descended into the arena, Lee expressed his excitement while stretching, and Guy encouraged him to show Naruto the power of youth. Lee enthusiastically agreed, while Kakashi remarked that Naruto stood little chance against Lee. Guy challenged Kakashi, stating that if Naruto defeated Lee, he would do 50,000 laps around the village on his hands. Conversely, if Lee won, Kakashi would join him in the laps, and if Kakashi finished first, Guy would do 50,000 more. As the match began, Lee launched an attack with taijutsu, and Naruto chose not to dodge, absorbing the hits. Frustrated, Lee questioned why Naruto wasn't fighting back, suspecting that he thought Lee wasn't worth his time. Naruto then appeared in front of Lee, whispering that if Lee couldn't defeat him, he wasn't worth his time, before delivering a powerful kick that sent Lee flying, though he landed safely. Lee acknowledged the kick's strength and glanced at Guy, who gave him an encouraging thumbs up. Determined, Lee removed the weights from his legs and reappeared in front of Naruto, throwing a punch that Naruto blocked. They began trading blows, with Lee realizing that he was keeping pace with Naruto. After exchanging several more strikes, Lee decided to get serious, opening the first of the 8 gates. He launched Naruto into the air with a series of kicks and caught him with his bandages, executing the front lotus. Although Lee could see that he had inflicted damage, Naruto appeared unaffected. As Naruto prepared to counterattack, Lee felt the effects of his previous move but quickly recovered, opening the second gate and then the third gate to enhance his power. Guy and Neji reminisced about Lee's determination to become a respectable ninja through taijutsu alone. Lee opened the fourth and fifth gates, landing numerous attacks on Naruto, whose lack of chakra or magical enhancements made it difficult for him to keep up. Lee unleashed his most powerful attack, the reverse lotus, believing it would finish the match. Exhausted, Lee thought he had secured victory as he looked at Naruto, who lay on the ground. Guy commended Lee for his performance, acknowledging that Naruto had done well to keep up but ultimately fell short. Just as Hayate was about to declare the match, Kakashi urged Naruto to get up, warning him not to give Lee false hope. Many in the audience were shocked when Naruto stood up, looking completely unharmed. Naruto acknowledged Lee's efforts and prepared to return the favor, appearing in front of Lee and delivering a kick that sent him crashing into a wall, followed by a punch to the gut. Just as he was about to strike again, Guy intervened, reminding Naruto that he had already won and that Lee was unconscious. Naruto apologized, not realizing Lee was out of the fight. Guy reassured him that it was common to go overboard in matches. Medics arrived to assist Lee, and Hayate declared Naruto Uzumaki the winner. While some male villagers glared at Naruto, the female villagers cheered for him, and he smiled back at them. One girl thought he was perfect, while Neji, observing the fight with his Byakugan activated, noted that Naruto had healed without using chakra. He pondered whether this was connected to Naruto's earlier deception during the second phase, questioning what secrets Naruto was hiding. The rest of the Leaf rookies were surprised by Naruto's strength, especially since he had never fought at the academy, though Hinata was pleased with his victory. As the next match was announced, Hayate introduced Neji Hyuga against Hinata Hyuga. Neji walked with purpose, while Hinata approached timidly. Neji expressed his surprise at having to fight Hinata, to which she replied in kind. Naruto, slightly raising an eyebrow, wondered if they were siblings, but Kakashi clarified that they were cousins from the Hyuga clan. Sakura sympathized, noting that it must be difficult for them. Lee explained that there was tension between the main and branch families, with Neji feeling resentment towards Hinata, who was seen as a disgrace in comparison to him, a recognized genius of the clan. Neji urged Hinata to give up, asserting that she could not deceive his eyes, as she remembered their bitter past. Then Neji observed Hinata, contemplating what would happen if they fought, realizing she would likely lose. He noted her habit of raising her arm in front of herself while touching her lip, interpreting it as her way of creating a barrier between them. He expressed his belief that people couldn't change, stating that once someone is a failure, they remain a failure. Although Hinata had not truly wanted to participate in the Chunin exams, she felt obligated to join a team of 3 and didn't want to let Kiba or Shino down. Hinata countered Neji's assertion, expressing her desire to see if she could change. Kiba supported her, insisting that both he and Shino believed in her potential for growth. Neji, however, remained unconvinced, reiterating his belief that people are incapable of change. Hinata, determined, made hand signs and activated her Byakugan, taking a stance and challenging Neji to defend himself. Neji mirrored her stance as the match began. He charged at her, delivering an open palm strike that she blocked with her own palm move. Their clash sent chakra flying from their hands, continuing until Hinata struck Neji in the stomach. Sakura watched anxiously, questioning if Hinata had managed to land a hit. Kakashi, observing closely, remarked on the impressive display. Neji then pulled back Hinata's sleeve, revealing angry red marks on her arm. He revealed that he had sealed all the chakra points in her arms, rendering her unable to use the gentle fist technique. He commanded her to give up. Hinata trembled, feeling uncertain, but she softly reminded Neji that while she had suffered, he had endured much more. Neji's expression hardened, and he unleashed two palm moves, one aimed at her gut and the other at her face. Hinata struggled to rise but coughed up blood. As she regained her footing, Hei sensed the match was nearing its end, but Neji charged at her with fierce intent. Just as he approached, the Leaf Jounin and Hei intervened to protect Hinata. Guy confronted Neji, reminding him of his promise not to let the main branch issue affect him. Hinata coughed again, prompting Kurenai to call for medics. Kiba, recovering, attempted to attack Neji, but Shino created a barrier with his bugs to stop him. Kiba vowed to make Neji pay, but Neji dismissed him, confident in his superiority. As Neji walked away, Naruto confronted him, expressing his disgust for someone who would harm their own family. He warned Neji to hope they wouldn't face each other in battle, as he would destroy him. After the final match, the Hokage announced that the exam finals would take place in a month, allowing time for preparation and the arrival of important dignitaries. He instructed the genin to draw numbers to determine their matchups. The matches were set as follows: Sasuke vs. Neji, Kankuro vs. Shino, Gaara vs. Naruto, and Temari vs. Dosu, with the winner of the fourth match facing Shikaku. Later, Kabuto prepared to kidnap Sasuke under Orochimaru's orders but was thwarted by Kakashi, forcing him to retreat. After the Hokage's announcement, Naruto wandered through the Leaf Village until he arrived at the hot springs, where he was invited by several ladies to join them. He accepted and went with them to the mixed bathing area. Jiraiya, seeking to peep at the girls, arrived at the hot springs. He spotted Naruto surrounded by women and felt a pang of jealousy when Naruto disappeared from view. Startled by Naruto's sudden appearance, Jiraiya fell and hit the side of the hot springs, causing the women to flee in shock. Jiraiya lamented the loss of his research, while Kurama teased him about Naruto's presence. Jiraiya questioned Naruto about his encounter with the women, to which Naruto replied that they had invited him and he couldn't refuse such hospitality. Jiraiya, seeing potential in Naruto, asked for his name and was surprised to learn he was Minato's son, noting how different he looked. Jiraiya proposed taking Naruto on as a student, but Naruto, sensing ulterior motives, declined the offer before disappearing. As he left, the women, now fully clothed, chased after Jiraiya, who realized he needed to escape. After a chaotic encounter, Jiraiya sought out Hiruzen to discuss Naruto, learning about the boy's unique circumstances and the curse placed upon him by a god, leaving Jiraiya pondering what could have led to such a fate. That night, at Kikyo Castle, Dosu attempted to eliminate Gaara to secure a chance to fight Sasuke in the finals, only to be swiftly defeated by Gaara. Baki and Kabuto, observing from the sidelines, discussed their plans to attack Konoha. Hei overheard their conversation and attempted to inform the third Hokage, but Baki silenced him before he could escape. Hei's body was later discovered by a group of Umbu, with Yugao Yuzuki pondering what could have happened. The next day, Sakura sat in her bedroom, anxious about Sasuke. Meanwhile, the third Hokage held a meeting with the Jonin regarding Heiate Gekko's body found near Kikyo Castle. They discussed Orochimaru's potential involvement, but the Hokage concluded they had no concrete information about him. He expressed his confidence in the shinobi, stating that if Otogekyure were to invade Konohagakure, they would unite and fight back. Later, Sakura visited Yamanaka Flowers to buy flowers for Sasuke, where Ino was managing the shop. After realizing Sakura was there for Sasuke, Ino decided to join her. Ino chose a rose while Sakura picked two daffodils. As they walked, they heard Choji eating loudly. Peeking through an open window, they saw Asuma Sarutobi and Shikamaru seated with Choji. Asuma had been treating Choji to barbecue in exchange for daily training with Shikamaru. In the woods, Neji was training with Tenten but collapsed after overexerting himself. Team Kurenai was also training nearby to prepare for Shino's match. Elsewhere, the three Sand siblings and Baki were secretly discussing their invasion plans. At the hospital, the nurse allowed Ino and Sakura only 5 minutes to visit Sasuke due to his condition, but they discovered that Sasuke and his clothes were missing. Kakashi was engaged in cliff climbing practice and, after nearly falling, activated the first gate. With newfound strength, he reached the top of the rock, only to find Sasuke waiting for him. With Naruto, Kurama asked what he would do for the entire month. Naruto replied that he would mostly sleep. Kurama questioned why he wouldn't train, to which Naruto responded that he felt no need for training since he possessed powerful abilities. A month later, at the Chunin exam stadium, Hiruzen thought it was finally time for the finale as the Kazekage arrived with his bodyguards. Hiruzen welcomed the Kazekage, who graciously accepted the invitation to the occasion. In the stands, Ino asked Sakura where Sasuke and Naruto were, but Sakura had no idea. Shikamaru, yawning, assured them that Sasuke would arrive. He wondered about Dosu's absence, noting that Sasuke and Naruto were also missing. Hiruzen addressed the crowd, thanking everyone for attending the Chunin selection exam and announcing the start of the main tournament matches. Shikamaru noted that one participant was missing, and Genma announced that Dosu was no longer fighting, so Shikamaru would face Temari. The first match was Sasuke Uchiha vs Neji Hyuga. As the villagers anticipated the clash of the Uchiha and the Hyuga prodigy, Sakura grew increasingly worried about Sasuke's absence. Genma considered disqualifying Sasuke but was stopped by Hiruzen, who was persuaded by the Kazekage to allow Sasuke to compete, leading to a postponement of his match. The next match was Kankuro vs Shino Aburame, but Kankuro forfeited. Genma then called for Naruto Uzumaki and Gaara to come down. Gaara appeared, but Naruto did not. After 10 minutes, Genma prepared to disqualify Naruto when he finally showed up. Gaara grinned at Naruto, expressing his eagerness to confront him. As the match began, outside the arena, Kabuto impersonated an Umbu after taking him down. Back in the arena, Gaara unleashed multiple sand shuriken at Naruto, who stood still, not attempting to dodge. Sakura expressed her concern, while Shikamaru explained that Naruto's unique circumstances made him indifferent to dodging attacks. Neji, intrigued, pondered what those circumstances could be. Seeing Naruto unfazed despite his injuries, Gaara wrapped sand around Naruto's limbs, applying pressure. The crowd gasped at the sight, particularly the women who were worried for Naruto. Asuma noted that Naruto seemed unconcerned for his own life, while Enko remarked that he had previously stated he wouldn't mind dying in the forest of death. The rookies were shocked to learn he had meant it seriously. Gaara, looking down at Naruto, expressed disappointment. Naruto, lying on the ground, challenged Gaara to finish him. Gaara complied, creating a massive sand spear and launching it at Naruto. The crowd was disturbed by the brutality, with many girls in tears at the sight of Naruto's apparent demise. Shikamaru and Hiruzen remained calm, knowing he would be all right. As Genma prepared to call the match, he noticed Naruto's wounds rapidly healing. The crowd was astonished as Naruto stood up, commenting on the disappointing outcome of the fight. The Kazekage, intrigued, thought about Naruto's immortality. The girls cheered at Naruto's revival, while the rookies and their senseis were left speechless. Gaara felt a mix of excitement and fear. Naruto declared it was time to resume their fight, using his magic to conjure a large water ball. He fired it at Gaara, who attempted to block it with sand. However, Naruto's second water ball caught Gaara off guard, as his sand transformed into mud, leaving him unable to defend himself. Naruto declared that it was over for Gaara, who stood no chance of winning. Naruto declared that he could turn Gaara's sand into mud. Temari and Kankuro were confident that Gaara would not lose. Gaara insisted that it was impossible for him to be defeated. Naruto then created a water spear charged with lightning and hurled it at Gaara. Gaara attempted to shield himself with sand from his gourd, but the attack pierced through, striking his arm. The electric shock paralyzed him momentarily, and as he pulled the spear from his wound, he cried out in pain, noticing the blood seeping from his injury. As the match neared its conclusion, a smoke bomb exploded in the Kage's box. Kabuto cast a genjutsu that put most of the crowd to sleep, although the Konoha ninjas managed to resist it. The invasion, known as the Konoha Crush, began. Many spectators in the stadium fell asleep, except for the third Hokage, several Jounin, the Sand Team, and the Leaf Genin. Outside the stadium, snakes summoned by the sound and sand shinobi began to swarm. The Jounin and Chunin at the gates quickly sprang into action to defend their village. Back in the stadium, the Kazekage took the Hokage to the roof, holding a kunai to his neck. As they landed, 4 sound ninjas appeared, forming a barrier of purple flames around the 2 Kages, preventing anyone from entering or leaving the area. An Umbu member attempted to breach the barrier but was instantly burned. Suddenly, leaves swirled down as a gust of wind heralded the arrival of Sasuke and Kakashi, who emerged from the clearing in the arena. Gunma acknowledged their arrival, and Kakashi apologized for their lateness, inquiring if Sasuke could still participate. Naruto, with a hint of sarcasm, remarked on Kakashi's punctuality. Kakashi turned his attention to the stands, questioning the unfolding situation. Naruto explained that they were being invaded by the sand and sound villages. Kakashi rushed to the balcony to speak with Hiruzen, who revealed that the sand village was betraying the leaf village. The Kazekage admitted that the treaty had been a ruse to lower their guard. The Hokage urged for a peaceful resolution, but the Kazekage dismissed his plea, suggesting that fear of death made one cowardly with age. Sarutobi recognized the voice and widened his eyes in realization. Meanwhile, Gaara clutched his wounded arm as his team gathered around him, along with their sensei, Baki. Baki urged Gaara to stick to the plan, but Gaara seemed unresponsive. Kankuro and Temari expressed their concern, and Baki chastised Gaara for attempting to transform prematurely. Temari noted the dire condition of Gaara, and Kankuro shouted in frustration, questioning their next steps. After a moment of silence, Baki concluded that they needed to abort the mission and retreat with Gaara. Temari and Kankuro were surprised by this decision and asked about Baki's safety. He insisted that he would stay and fight while they escaped. Gunma questioned whether Orochimaru was leading the invasion, but Baki could only speculate. Sasuke demanded to know what was happening, and Gunma instructed him and Naruto to pursue Gaara and his team, acknowledging their capabilities as Chunin-level ninjas. As the Hokage and Kazekage faced off, Orochimaru revealed himself, smirking at the unfolding chaos. Sarutobi remained calm, recognizing the threat. Kakashi and Guy observed the situation, noting the barrier ninjutsu surrounding the central watchtower. Guy urged Kakashi to look within the barrier, where they spotted Orochimaru. Kakashi realized that Orochimaru was there for Sasuke. He quickly assigned Sakura a mission to gather Kiba, Shikamaru, and Shino to pursue Sasuke and the Sand team. Sakura questioned how they would track Sasuke, but Kakashi summoned Pakken, a dog capable of following Sasuke's scent. He instructed Sakura to hurry while he and the other Jounin dealt with the sound ninjas. As Sakura and Pakken set off to find Shikamaru and the others, they informed them of their mission. Once the group left the stadium and entered the forest, Pakken detected that they were being followed by 9 Oto ninjas. To create the distraction, Shikamaru decided to stay behind and slow down their pursuers. He altered his surroundings to mislead the enemy and lay in wait. When the Oto ninjas caught up, he trapped 8 of them with his shadow imitation technique, realizing that one ninja had remained hidden to protect the others. Running low on chakra, Shikamaru threw shuriken to locate the 9th ninja. The shuriken were halted by the needles of the free ninja, and Shikamaru attempted to extend his shadow to the ninja's location, though he lacked sufficient shadow to work with. After holding the 8 adversaries at bay for a while longer, Shikamaru's chakra depleted, forcing him to release the group. Once freed, the group urged the 9th ninja to take action against their captive, leading to a surprising revelation as Asuma Sarutobi appeared behind Shikamaru, accompanied by the 9th ninja. In a swift motion, Asuma dispatched the other 8, instructing Shikamaru to take a rest. The invading forces and Leaf Shinobi paused their battle, drawn by an overwhelming source of power. Moments later, they witnessed Naruto soaring toward them. Kabuto sensed impending danger and decided to flee. In an instant, Naruto flew past them all, declaring it was over. As he spoke, the heads of the sound shinobi fell, leaving the leaf and sand shinobi horrified. Naruto addressed the sand shinobi, explaining that he had spared them because they were deceived. He revealed that their Kazekage was dead and that Orochimaru had been impersonating him. He warned them that next time, whether deceived or not, he would not show mercy. The sand shinobi gulped at this revelation. Kakashi pondered just how strong Naruto had become. Naruto instructed the sand ninja to inform their comrades and deal with the remaining sound ninja. The sand ninja quickly made their way back to the village. Baki, filled with frustration at Orochimaru, vanished from sight. A leaf ninja proclaimed their victory, prompting cheers from the leaf shinobi. Naruto reappeared in front of Shino, who was still engaged in battle with Kankuro. Shino acknowledged Naruto's presence, and Naruto told them to cease fighting. Kankuro questioned why they should stop, and Naruto informed him about Orochimaru's deception. Anger surged through Kankuro as he realized they had been used. Naruto vanished once more, appearing before Temari, who was battling Kiba. Kiba insisted that Naruto should back off, but Naruto urged them to stop fighting, warning them about Orochimaru's plans. Temari suggested that Naruto should intervene with Gaara, as she doubted he would listen to reason. In a flash, Naruto appeared near Sasuke, who, along with Sakura, was pinned to trees by Gaara's sand. Sakura lay unconscious, and Naruto remarked on Sasuke's condition, noting how he looked worse for wear. Sasuke wondered about Naruto's new form, while Naruto insulted Gaara's appearance. Naruto then cast a sleeping spell on Sasuke, causing him to fall asleep. Gaara taunted Naruto, claiming that as long as he fought for others, he would remain weak. He believed that only one could remain undefeated and that trivial feelings like friendship would cloud focus and lead to death. Naruto feigned ignorance, asking if Gaara had said something. Gaara insisted that Naruto did not understand true strength, to which Naruto responded that great power comes with responsibility. Gaara dismissed this notion, warning that such thinking would lead to death. Naruto boldly stated that he would welcome death if it meant protecting others. Gaara unleashed multiple sand spears, but Naruto used his space magic to redirect them, allowing some to strike him instead. As Gaara continued his relentless assault, Naruto protected his teammates while enduring the attacks. Gaara expressed frustration, demanding to know why Naruto wouldn't just die, to which Naruto replied that he wished he could. Gaara transformed into Shikaku and employed the play possum jutsu, surrendering control to the beast. Shikaku reveled in his newfound freedom and targeted Naruto. Naruto challenged Shikaku to try his best, warping away the compressed wind bullets aimed at him. As Shikaku began forming a Bijou bomb, Naruto made it disappear before it could be launched. With determination, Naruto fired a large energy blast at Shikaku, resulting in a powerful explosion that marked the end of both Shikaku and Gaara. As Gaara's transformation faded, Naruto caught him before the chakra could escape. He revived Gaara, who opened his eyes in defeat. Gaara questioned why Naruto would fight for anyone but himself. Naruto explained that he disliked seeing others get hurt. He encouraged Gaara to connect with others, noting that his brother and sister cared deeply for him despite past actions. Gaara acknowledged their love even after he had treated them poorly. Kankuro and Temari, surprised by Gaara's admission, expressed their gratitude to Naruto before departing with Gaara. As they jumped through the trees, Gaara reflected on Naruto's words, apologizing to his siblings. Kankuro reassured him that it was okay. Meanwhile, Naruto felt satisfied with his efforts, remarking on the day's events and looking forward to a long nap. Kurama noted that Naruto had single-handedly stopped an invasion, affirming that he had earned his rest. Naruto decided to take the injured to the hospital, relieved to see that the sand binding them had vanished. A few days later, after the confrontation with Gaara, Naruto returned home. The following day he received a summons to Hiruzen's office. When he arrived, Naruto was informed that he would be promoted to Jounin. However, he declined the promotion, not wanting any extra responsibility. Hiruzen reassured him that he wouldn't need to take on additional work and suggested he view the promotion as a mere formality. Meanwhile, the Sand Village engaged in discussions with the Leaf Village regarding reparations for damages incurred during the recent conflict. They managed to agree on terms, with the Leaf Village promising to request the Wind Daimyo to send more missions their way. The Wind Daimyo had been outsourcing missions to the Leaf Village for cost-effectiveness, which left the Sand Village struggling financially. They had only managed to survive through the trade of gold and the development of new jutsu, but this was not a sustainable solution for the long term. In the council room, following the invasion, Hiruzen decided it was time to retire. Hamaru nominated Jiraiya for the position of Hokage. Jiraiya, feeling unfit for the role, nominated Tsunade instead. Since Tsunade's whereabouts were unknown, Jiraiya offered to search for her, insisting that he be allowed to bring Naruto along. The elders agreed to this plan. An hour later, Danzo was displeased to hear that Tsunade had been chosen as the next Hokage. He thought angrily about Hiruzen's decision, vowing that he would not allow it to happen. Danzo began to devise a plan to eliminate Tsunade without getting his hands dirty by using his root Anbu. A few hours later, Kabuto approached Orochimaru with a message from Danzo. Orochimaru, intrigued, read the message and learned that Danzo wanted him to kill Tsunade. Kabuto questioned why Danzo would want such a thing, and Orochimaru explained that Tsunade had been chosen for the Hokage position, which Danzo desperately coveted. Although Orochimaru preferred to recruit Tsunade rather than kill her, he acknowledged that if she refused, he would have no choice but to eliminate her. He then contemplated the power Naruto had displayed, realizing it was not nature energy and must have come from another source. Orochimaru's thoughts turned to Naruto's immortal body, which he desired for himself. The next day, Naruto was resting in his bed when he heard a knock on his door. Upon opening it, he was greeted by Jiraiya, whom he referred to as Pervy Sage. Jiraiya sighed at the title and informed Naruto that he had a mission to find a certain woman and wanted Naruto to accompany him. Naruto guessed that this woman was to replace the old Hokage, and Jiraiya confirmed his suspicion. Despite his initial reluctance, Naruto agreed to join, feeling that the mission would be interesting. At the village gate, they set off. Later, two outsiders entered the village, catching the attention of Asuma Sarutobi and Kurenai Yuhi. When confronted, the two revealed themselves as Kisame Hashigaki, a renegade ninja from the Mist Village, and Itachi Uchiha, the man responsible for the massacre of the Uchiha clan. As wanted criminals, Asuma and Kurenai attempted to apprehend them but quickly found themselves outmatched. Just as they were about to be defeated, Kakashi Hatake arrived to assist them. Itachi, recognizing Kakashi's prowess, asked Kisame to step aside so he could face Kakashi alone. Despite Kakashi's formidable skills and proficiency with the Sharingan, Itachi demonstrated his superior abilities, overwhelming Kakashi with his speed and advanced techniques. Realizing that Itachi was holding back, Kakashi instructed Asuma and Kurenai to close their eyes to avoid falling victim to Itachi's ultimate technique. However, even with the Sharingan, Kakashi was unable to withstand Itachi's Tsukuyomi and was rendered helpless. In his weakened state, Kakashi inquired about their presence in Konoha. Itachi revealed they were after the fourth Hokage's legacy, Naruto Uzumaki. Kakashi recognized this as part of Akatsuki's plan to harness the power of the nine-tailed fox sealed within Naruto. Consequently, Itachi ordered Kisame to eliminate Kakashi, Asuma, and Kurenai. Before Kisame could deliver a fatal blow, Might Guy intervened, pushing Kisame back. With Guy's arrival, Kakashi collapsed from exhaustion. Aware of the threat Guy posed and the approaching reinforcements, Itachi decided to retreat with Kisame, avoiding a confrontation. As they took Kakashi away to recover, Guy, Asuma, and Kurenai agreed that it was best for Sasuke Uchiha, Itachi's brother, to remain unaware of Itachi's return. However, when Sasuke arrived and learned of Kakashi's condition, the truth about Itachi's return and his search for Naruto slipped out accidentally. Sasuke rushed off in search of Naruto, asking villagers if they had seen him. Some of Naruto's fangirls informed him that Naruto had left with Jiraiya earlier. Meanwhile, on the quest for Tsunade, Jiraiya decided to teach Naruto the Rasengan. To Jiraiya's astonishment, Naruto mastered it in just one day. Jiraiya suggested they stay in one place for a while, but upon spotting a beautiful woman he excused himself, leaving Naruto behind. Naruto sighed at Jiraiya's behavior. Later, while relaxing in his room, Naruto was startled by a knock at the door. He opened it to find Itachi and Kisame waiting for him. Recognizing Itachi as the infamous Kinslayer, Naruto acknowledged his notoriety. Kisame smirked, commenting on Naruto's fame in the village. Itachi suggested they take a walk, prompting Naruto to step outside. As he stood before the two men, Kisame made a threatening remark about potentially harming Naruto to prevent him from escaping, but Itachi dismissed it, indicating that they had other plans in mind. Naruto smiled, expressing his willingness to cooperate. Kisame laughed, commenting on the kid's eccentricity. He accepted Naruto's unusual offer, ready to engage in a bizarre challenge. Suddenly, Naruto's expression brightened as he sensed someone's presence. Itachi acknowledged Sasuke's arrival, noting the time that had passed since they last met. Kisame remarked on the rarity of encountering another Sharingan, while Sasuke's face darkened with determination. He confronted Itachi, revealing his deep-seated desire for revenge, fueled by memories of their clan's tragic fate. Sasuke's anger surged as he prepared to unleash the Chidori, a technique taught to him by Kakashi. Itachi, however, sidestepped the attack effortlessly, demonstrating his superior skill. He used Tsukuyomi to trap Sasuke in a vision, forcing him to relive the traumatic moment of their parents' murder, taunting him for lacking the necessary hatred to gain strength. Sasuke fell into a state of despair. As Itachi released Sasuke, he turned his attention to Naruto and Kisame, who were engaged in a peculiar exchange, with Naruto playfully slapping Kisame. Itachi was puzzled by the scene unfolding before him. Naruto, with a serious demeanor, proposed a conversation, hinting at the potential consequences of Itachi's answers. Itachi attempted to cast a genjutsu on Naruto, but the latter's presence disrupted his focus. Instead, Itachi found himself in Naruto's mindscape, where Kurama, the powerful beast, glared at him, expressing his disdain. Ignoring Kurama, Itachi faced Naruto, who greeted him with a smile before launching a dark wave of energy. Waking in the real world, Itachi acknowledged Naruto's intriguing nature. Naruto pressed him for answers about his past actions, questioning the morality of testing his strength on innocent lives. Itachi remained silent, prompting Naruto to challenge him further about the timing and assistance involved in the massacre of their clan. Eventually, Itachi revealed the coup planned by the Uchiha and the potential consequences for the village, leading Naruto to understand the gravity of his actions. When asked about his accomplice, Itachi named Madara Uchiha, prompting Kurama to speculate about the masked man who had freed him years ago. Naruto inquired about Itachi's motives for pursuing him, leading to a discussion about the Akatsuki's goal of capturing tailed beasts. Realizing the implications of their plan, Naruto understood they aimed to resurrect the 10 tails. Kurama warned that capturing Naruto would be challenging, unlike the other tailed beasts. Naruto posed a final question, one that would determine Itachi and Kisame's fate. Itachi affirmed his love for Sasuke, a sentiment that surprised Naruto. In a swift motion, Naruto eliminated Kisame, freezing Itachi in time before dispatching him as well. However, he resurrected both Akatsuki members, who felt a surge of newfound power. Itachi expressed gratitude for his restored health, while Kisame eagerly anticipated testing his abilities. Naruto instructed them to return to the Akatsuki, promising to summon them when needed. They complied, disappearing in a flurry of crows and flickering away. Naruto then turned his attention to Sasuke, who remained in a comatose state. He chuckled, remarking on Itachi's peculiar way of showing love. Shortly after, time resumed. Meanwhile, Jiraiya had freed a woman from a genjutsu and made his way to Naruto. Upon arrival, he noticed Sasuke's condition and was impressed by Naruto's ability to handle 2 Akatsuki members alone. Concerned for Sasuke's injuries, Naruto suggested they get him to a hospital. Suddenly, Guy appeared and accidentally struck Jiraiya, mistaking him for an enemy in his haste. After a brief exchange, they agreed that Sasuke needed immediate medical attention. Jiraiya speculated that Itachi had used a similar technique on Kakashi and emphasized the need for a top medical ninja to assist. Realizing they required Tsunade's expertise, Jiraiya confirmed her identity as one of the legendary Sannin. Guy was tasked with taking Sasuke home while Naruto and Jiraiya set off to find her. With determination, they prepared for the next phase of their mission. With Tsunade, an avid and often unlucky gambler, found herself on a winning streak, which made her uneasy. Sensing that something bad was about to happen, she decided to flee the city. However, her assistant, Shizune, suggested they visit the local landmarks first, and Tsunade reluctantly agreed. As Shizune admired an ancient castle, Tsunade urged her to hurry. Suddenly, the castle collapsed, and from the rubble emerged Orochimaru and Kabuto riding a giant snake. Tsunade's instinct was to attack her old teammate. Just as she prepared to strike, Orochimaru offered to revive her deceased brother and lover. This proposal caught Tsunade's attention, and she asked what he wanted in return. He revealed that she would have to become one of his subordinates. Orochimaru then gave her time to consider his offer. Meanwhile, Jiraiya and Naruto had arrived in the city and were investigating Tsunade's last known location. Upon hearing reports of a giant snake destroying a castle, Jiraiya recognized it as one of Orochimaru's actions and rushed to the scene. He thought about how Naruto had previously defeated Orochimaru, questioning the villain's apparent immortality. Back with Tsunade, Shizune urged her not to consider Orochimaru's offer and insisted they should fight. Although Tsunade was hesitant, Orochimaru shed some of his own blood, knowing that Tsunade had a fear of it. This sight forced her into SBMSN, and he granted her a week to make her decision before he and Kabuto vanished. After some time, Naruto and Jiraiya found Tsunade at a bar. Jiraiya smirked, relieved to have located her. Tsunade mentioned that she had encountered someone who brought back unpleasant memories. Jiraiya, curious, asked what had happened, but Tsunade only replied with a vague statement, prompting Jiraiya to suspect she was hiding something. Tsunade then inquired why Jiraiya had come to see her. He revealed that the village had requested her to become the 5th Hokage, which shocked both Tsunade and Shizune. Jiraiya explained that the previous Hokage had retired and she had been nominated as his successor. Tsunade dismissed the idea, stating it was impossible and questioning who would want such a position. Naruto, eager to help, suggested they leave, but Jiraiya pressed Tsunade to reconsider, warning her that if she declined, Danzo might take the position instead. Tsunade challenged Jiraiya to accept the role himself, but he explained that his responsibilities with his spy network prevented him from doing so. As Naruto began to walk away, Jiraiya expressed his frustration, putting Naruto in a playful chokehold. Naruto thought about Jiraiya's desperation to avoid becoming Hokage, while Kurama chimed in about Jiraiya's priorities. After some persuasion, Naruto agreed to try to convince Tsunade. Naruto approached Tsunade with a smile, which made her blush. She thought he was handsome and asked Jiraiya who he was. Jiraiya explained that Naruto was a relative of hers, the son of Minato and Kushina. Tsunade was surprised, noting that he looked nothing like them. Jiraiya proudly shared that Naruto had defeated formidable opponents on his own, which astonished Tsunade and Shizune. Tsunade questioned why they didn't just make Naruto Hokage if he was so capable. Naruto explained that his status as the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki made that unlikely, as the villagers would oppose him. Tsunade wondered why his status was public knowledge when others had kept it secret. Naruto then proposed a bet. If Tsunade could land a single hit on him within a week, he would grant her any wish. However, if she failed, she would have to become Hokage. Tsunade laughed at the challenge and decided to wager her necklace, which shocked Shizune. Tsunade was confident, thinking that Naruto was underestimating her. She promised to return the next day to challenge him. Jiraiya suggested they have a drink to catch up, and Tsunade agreed. He then instructed Naruto and Shizune to find a hotel for the night. They left together, and after some time, they reached a hotel and got separate rooms. Later, Naruto was resting on his bed when he heard a knock at the door. It was Shizune who wanted to talk about Tsunade. She explained that Tsunade had not always been the way she was. She used to care deeply for the village, but everything changed after a tragic event. Shizune shared her concerns about the necklace, revealing that everyone who had worn it before had met unfortunate fates, and it was cursed. Naruto, unfazed, declared that he was already cursed and would ensure Tsunade couldn't touch him. Shizune was taken aback by his words, worried for his safety. A week passed, and during their encounters, Tsunade fought Naruto. Repeatedly, but each time ended in her defeat before she could even make a move. One day, as Naruto tried to wake Shizune, she finally stirred, confused about what had happened. Shizune urged Naruto to stay put as she approached the window, but a kunai suddenly halted her. She demanded to know who had thrown it, but her concern shifted when she recognized a weakened Jiraiya. He explained his condition, revealing that Tsunade had mixed something into his sake the previous night, leaving him unable to release chakra and causing his entire body to ache. He couldn't even hold chopsticks. Shizune then recounted her conversation with Tsunade after bringing Naruto back to his room, which had ended with her being knocked unconscious by Tsunade. Shizune expressed her disappointment, revealing that she had wanted to trust Tsunade, which was why she had kept silent. However, time was of the essence, and she urged Naruto to follow her to the meeting point where she and Tsunade had last encountered Orochimaru. On their way, she disclosed that Orochimaru had offered Tsunade the chance to revive her brother and her lover in exchange for her loyalty. Jiraiya contemplated Orochimaru's intentions, realizing he wanted to recruit Tsunade. Naruto reflected on how he might have accepted such a deal in his previous life. Meanwhile, Tsunade stood before Orochimaru, declaring that she would join him only if he promised never to attack the village. Orochimaru agreed, but as Tsunade approached him, she enhanced her fist with chakra and attempted to strike. He dodged just in time, glaring at her in disbelief. Tsunade asserted that she knew his promise to spare the village was a lie, and despite her longing to see her loved ones again, she recognized that disturbing their eternal rest would be disrespectful. With the deal off, Orochimaru declared he would kill her. Tsunade responded fiercely, shattering the ground beneath her feet, prompting both Orochimaru and Kabuto to leap away from the debris. Orochimaru challenged her to battle. At the meeting point, Naruto, Jiraiya, and Shizune arrived to find the street in ruins. Jiraiya noted that it seemed Tsunade had refused Orochimaru's offer, and Naruto pointed out her presence in the distance. They hurried in her direction. In an empty field, Kabuto and Tsunade engaged in combat. Kabuto, lacking skill in taijutsu, resorted to using chakra-based techniques. Although Tsunade initially evaded many of his attacks, her age began to take its toll, allowing Kabuto to land a hit that severed some of her muscles and hindered her movement. He struck her in the chest, further impairing her ability to breathe. Believing he had gained the upper hand, Kabuto began to gloat. However, Tsunade, using her strength, countered by striking him in the neck, forcing him to the ground. As he struggled to rise, he found that her attack had disrupted his nervous system, causing him pain. Unable to move, Kabuto watched as Tsunade healed her injuries. As she recovered, Kabuto adapted quickly, regaining mobility and surprising her with his speed. Just as he prepared to attack, Naruto, Jiraiya, and Shizune appeared, blocking his path. Orochimaru greeted Jiraiya, who remarked that he hadn't changed at all. Kabuto acknowledged Naruto, who responded casually. Orochimaru's gaze fell on Naruto, a twisted smile forming on his face as he declared that Naruto's body would be his. He summoned a horde of snakes that ensnared Naruto, Shizune, and Jiraiya, while Tsunade fought off the snakes approaching her. Orochimaru taunted her, revealing his blood, causing her to tremble in fear as she was ultimately captured. With a sinister laugh, Orochimaru proclaimed that Naruto's body would finally be his. Kabuto thought to himself that Orochimaru had set his sights on Naruto. Jiraiya expressed his disgust at Orochimaru's actions, to which Orochimaru responded with mock gratitude. Orochimaru announced his goal of achieving immortality through Naruto's body, but Naruto retorted that a certain god would likely have a problem with that. Just then, Anxeram appeared, declaring that he would not allow Orochimaru to take Naruto's body, stating that Naruto had not suffered enough. Kabuto was bewildered by the appearance of this powerful entity, while Jiraiya recognized him as the god who had cursed Naruto. Orochimaru dismissed Anxeram's warning, insisting he would not let anything stand in the way of his ambitions. Anxeram, angered by Orochimaru's insolence, unleashed a powerful blast of magic, eliminating Orochimaru and nullifying his jutsu. With the snakes released, Naruto freed himself and the others, while Kabuto quickly retreated. Anxeram informed Naruto that he had been watching over him and would intervene whenever someone sought to harm him. Afterward, he vanished, leaving Naruto frustrated. Jiraiya roused Tsunade from her daze, reminding her that she needed to overcome her fear of blood, as a Hokage could not be afraid. Tsunade recalled their bet and, taking off her necklace, placed it around Naruto's neck, hoping it would bring him strength. Kurama sarcastically assured Naruto that it would indeed do just that, prompting an annoyed response from him. They returned to the hotel, where Naruto and the others gathered at the bar. Jiraiya and Shizune inquired about Anxeram, and Tsunade was also curious. Jiraiya asked what had provoked the god's wrath, and Naruto began to recount the long story of his attempt to resurrect someone. Anxeram, the god of life and death, disapproved of the idea of anyone attempting to bring someone back from the dead. Tsunade questioned why Orochimaru or her granduncle Tobirama had not faced punishment from Anxeram. Jiraiya acknowledged her point, while Naruto explained that Anxeram was not a god from their world but from another realm entirely. Shizune, piecing together the implications, suddenly spoke up, asking Naruto if this meant he was also from that other world. Naruto confirmed that in his past life, he had been Zeref Dragneel, a dark mage from a place called Earthland, and after his death there, he had been reincarnated in this world. The revelation hit them hard. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizune were taken aback, each processing the information in their own way. Shizune then asked Naruto why he seemed so eager to escape life. Naruto explained the curse placed upon him by Anxeram. It granted him immortality, preventing him from aging or dying by normal means. However, it also came with a dangerous death magic tied to his emotions, particularly his regard for human life. He elaborated that if he cared deeply for someone, the curse would activate and bring about their death. The more he loved, the more likely he was to cause death around him. The atmosphere in the room grew heavy with the weight of this revelation. Jiraiya frowned deeply, recognizing the harshness of the curse that punished Naruto for forming human connections. Naruto expressed that his greatest wish was to finally die, to end the cycle of suffering not just for himself but for everyone around him. Tsunade, filled with emotion, declared that it was cruel for anyone to live that way and insisted there had to be a loophole or a way to break the curse. Shizune suggested they explore all options, researching both their world and any information about Earthland that Naruto could provide. Jiraiya agreed, determined to look into every known sealing technique, curse-breaking methods, and even forbidden jutsu that might offer a solution. Naruto then mentioned he knew of a way to break his curse, which involved someone falling in love with him and then killing him. Tsunade quickly dismissed that idea, insisting on finding a method that didn't involve his death. Naruto, feeling defeated, finished his drink and decided to rest in his hotel room, telling them they could come up with solutions another time. As he left, Tsunade and Jiraiya began to drink heavily, feeling sorrow for the young man. A few days later, Naruto and the others returned to Konoha for Tsunade's inauguration. She successfully healed Sasuke and Kakashi, while Jiraiya set off in search of ways to help Naruto. Kakashi took Naruto and Sakura to visit Sasuke, who was still recovering. When Sasuke saw Naruto, he glared at him, demanding a fight. Sakura tried to intervene, but Sasuke insisted, activating his Sharingan. Kakashi observed the situation, deciding not to interfere as Sasuke needed to vent his frustrations. Sasuke approached Naruto, challenging him to a fight. Kurama encouraged Naruto to accept the challenge. Naruto agreed, and they moved to the roof, with Kakashi and Sakura following. Standing a few steps apart, Naruto chuckled, recalling how Sasuke had charged at his brother only to be defeated. Sasuke glared at him, angered by the reminder. As Sasuke charged, the two engaged in a taijutsu battle. Sasuke initially deflected Naruto's blows using his Sharingan but soon found himself overwhelmed. Realizing physical attacks alone wouldn't suffice, Sasuke leaped into the air, forming hand seals for his grand fireball technique. He unleashed a massive fireball towards Naruto, who countered with a water spell, creating a wall of water that intercepted the flames. Using the cover, Naruto launched a bolt of lightning at Sasuke, who dodged it midair and retaliated with his Chidori, aiming to pierce Naruto. Sakura rushed forward, urging them to stop, but Kakashi held her back, recognizing the need for Sasuke to release his pent-up emotions. As the confrontation escalated, Naruto activated his time magic, freezing the moment and allowing him to strike Sasuke without consequence. When time resumed, Sasuke was filled with panic after realizing what he had done. Naruto reassured him with a smile, delivering a powerful punch to Sasuke's gut, causing him to collapse. Sakura, witnessing Naruto's wound regenerate, remembered his immortality. Naruto remarked on the unexpected fun of their hospital visit, leaving Kakashi and Sakura bewildered by his attitude. In a different realm, Mamashiki Otsutsuki and Kinshiki Otsutsuki stood amidst the ethereal glow of their home dimension, preparing for their journey to Earth. Their thoughts were consumed by the mysterious fates of Kaguya and Ishiki, both of whom had been sent to Earth but had never returned. Mamashiki, his eyes gleaming with a mix of curiosity and suspicion, regarded Kinshiki. He pondered the implications of their disappearance, questioning how two powerful Otsutsuki could vanish without a trace. Kinshiki, ever the dutiful subordinate, reflected on the situation, noting that while Ishiki was one of their strongest members, Kaguya, despite her weaknesses, should have been capable of handling challenges on Earth. The possibility that they faced unforeseen obstacles or that the inhabitants of Earth had grown stronger enough to threaten them was concerning. Mamashiki frowned at the thought of humans defeating two Otsutsuki, finding it unlikely but not impossible. He speculated that they might have allied with formidable entities or discovered hidden strengths. Kinshiki suggested that perhaps Kaguya and Ishiki's own ambitions led to their downfall, hinting at the possibility of internal conflict. Mamashiki acknowledged the need to uncover the truth, asserting that if they had betrayed their mission, they would need to reclaim control and ensure their plans proceeded as intended. With a smirk and a hint of arrogance, he declared their intent to investigate and take back what was rightfully theirs. The two Otsutsuki prepared to open a portal to Earth, the air around them shimmering with energy as they activated their space-time ninjutsu, creating a swirling vortex in the fabric of reality. On Earth, Naruto and the others were summoned to Tsunade's office, where she informed them that Sasuke had left the village. When Naruto asked whether their mission was to kill Sasuke or bring him back, his eyes were devoid of emotion, shocking everyone, including Sakura, who stood outside the door. Kiba grabbed Naruto by the collar, incredulous at how he could speak of killing Sasuke so casually, questioning how he could disregard his teammate. Naruto expressed indifference towards both Sasuke and Sakura, stating they meant nothing to him. Sakura felt her heart ache at his words, knowing him to be kind despite his hardships. Tears welled in her eyes as she wondered how things had come to this. Kiba, furious, was about to strike Naruto when Tsunade intervened, commanding him to stand down. Tsunade explained that Naruto's behavior stemmed from a deeper issue, suggesting that he was unable to care for others due to a curse. Shikamaru speculated that this curse was linked to Naruto's immortality, which Tsunade confirmed was placed upon him by the god Anxeram. This curse, known as the Curse of Contradiction, granted Naruto immortality but took the lives of others if he valued them. The room fell silent as the weight of this revelation sank in, leaving Naruto expressionless amidst the turmoil. Shikamaru quickly pieced together the implications of Tsunade's words, while Lee's eyes widened in disbelief at the burden Naruto carried. Choji felt a surge of empathy, realizing why Naruto seemed so distant. Neji, understanding the weight of fate and destiny, empathized with Naruto's plight, recognizing the cruelty of such a curse. Shino, always observant, noted that Naruto's actions were a form of protection, forced upon him by his curse. Kiba, grappling with the new information, expressed regret for his earlier outburst. Naruto, still devoid of emotion, urged them to focus on the mission. He reiterated that emotions did not factor into his decision-making, viewing it purely as a task. Tsunade emphasized that their mission was to bring Sasuke back, asserting that killing him was not an option. Naruto acknowledged this, prepared to do what was necessary. The tension in the room was palpable as they all processed the reality of Naruto's curse. Sakura, wiping her tears, stepped forward to apologize, but Naruto's indifferent response deepened her pain. She questioned whether they were still friends, to which Naruto replied that it made no difference to him. The room fell silent again, each person grappling with the implications of Naruto's situation. Tsunade took a deep breath, steeling herself for the mission ahead. She instructed the team to prepare and move out immediately. As they filed out of the room, Tsunade watched them go, her heart heavy with the knowledge of the burden Naruto carried. Outside the Hidden Leaf Village, the sky darkened as a massive, swirling vortex tore through the fabric of spacetime. Mamashiki and Kinshiki Otsutsuki emerged from the portal, their presence immediately sensed by Naruto, Neji, Shino, Lee, Choji, Shikamaru, and Kiba. Mamashiki's gaze fixed on Naruto, sensing something familiar about him. He expressed disdain for Earth, the place where Kaguya and Ishiki had vanished. Mamashiki's interest shifted to Neji, noting the resemblance of his chakra to Kaguya's, which intrigued him. He smirked, belittling the idea that Kaguya had offspring. Neji, shocked, demanded clarification while activating his Byakugan to scan the two Otsutsuki. Naruto took a deep breath, feeling it was time to share crucial information. He called out to Neji, urging him to listen. Neji turned, curiosity and confusion evident as he awaited Naruto's explanation. Naruto's gaze shifted between Neji and the Otsutsuki pair, revealing that they were not just any enemies, but members of the Otsutsuki clan. The same clan as Kaguya, the one who consumed the fruit of the divine tree. Kaguya Otsutsuki was the progenitor of all chakra on this planet. It seemed she left behind a legacy. Mamashiki's gaze was intense as he focused on Neji, revealing the connection. Neji, with the Byakugan, carried her blood. The weight of the revelation settled on Neji. He realized their Byakugan and clan were linked to these beings. Naruto nodded, his expression serious, confirming Neji's lineage as a descendant of Kaguya Otsutsuki. Neji's mind raced, struggling to grasp the implications of their heritage. Mamashiki's laughter was cold and mocking as he acknowledged Neji's potential. Kinshiki, gripping his axe tightly, glared at Neji, dismissing him as insignificant compared to the true power of the Otsutsuki. Naruto stood resolute, determined to protect their world despite their shared abilities. Shikamaru, always the strategist, stepped forward, demanding to know what the Otsutsuki wanted. Mamashiki's smirk revealed their intentions. They sought the power of the divine tree, the source of all chakra on the planet. Kinshiki pointed out that Naruto held a fraction of that power within him. Naruto's expression hardened as he declared that they would not take Kurama from him. He turned to his comrades, instructing them to pursue Sasuke while he faced the two Otsutsuki alone. Kiba expressed concern, but Naruto reassured him, insisting he could handle it. Shikamaru hesitated but ultimately agreed, urging the group to move. Neji looked at Naruto with a mix of respect and worry, reminding him to be careful. Naruto offered a reassuring smile before they departed, leaving him to confront Mamashiki and Kinshiki. With determination, he prepared for the battle ahead. Naruto unleashed a dark magic attack at the duo, but to his surprise, Mamashiki and Kinshiki were unable to absorb it. Confusion crossed Mamashiki's face as he realized the nature of Naruto's attack. Adjusting their strategy, they closed in on him. Kinshiki summoned a chakra axe, swinging it with overwhelming force, while Mamashiki engaged Naruto in close combat, his movements precise. Naruto fought with reckless abandon, allowing himself to take hits, confident in his ability to heal. As Kinshiki's weapon grazed his side, he felt a deep wound but pressed on. After enduring several powerful blows, he found himself injured but determined. Channeling his energy, he unleashed a devastating wave of magic towards Mamashiki and Kinshiki, who narrowly evaded the blast. Mamashiki noted the destruction left in the wake of the attack, realizing they needed to avoid it at all costs. In retaliation, he conjured black receiver rods and launched them at Naruto, who stood firm despite the danger. The rods pierced his body, disrupting his chakra network and leaving him immobilized. Kinshiki seized the opportunity, striking Naruto from behind. Mamashiki attempted to extract Kurama's chakra from Naruto, who felt waves of pain surge through him. In a desperate move, Naruto unleashed black spears from his body, targeting both Mamashiki and Kinshiki, managing to pierce them. Enraged by Naruto's resilience, Mamashiki escalated the battle, invoking his titanic beast creation technique. Colossal titans emerged, threatening to crush Naruto. Undeterred, Naruto unleashed a powerful attack, destroying the titans. Mamashiki, realizing the need for more power, consumed Kinshiki, transforming into a more formidable opponent. With a surge of strength, Mamashiki opened a portal to the Divine Tree, declaring that they would see the true extent of Naruto's power. Before Naruto could react, Mamashiki sent a powerful blast of chakra, knocking him into the portal and crashing him near the Divine Tree. Mamashiki followed, his presence oppressive as he taunted Naruto, questioning his strength. He moved with blinding speed, delivering a powerful punch that sent Naruto crashing into the trunk of the Divine Tree. As Naruto struggled to recover, Mamashiki pinned him to the ground with black receiver rods, leaving him immobilized. Mamashiki taunted Naruto, questioning if this was all the power he possessed. He stepped forward, delivering a brutal kick that broke ribs, causing Naruto to gasp in pain. Despite the agony, Naruto's determination remained strong, even as his vision blurred. Mamashiki lifted Naruto by the throat, sneering at his weakness. With a flick of his wrist, he hurled Naruto into the ground, creating a crater upon impact. As Naruto lay there, he fought against the pain, determined to rise and continue the fight. Mamashiki pressed his foot down on Naruto's back, forcing him deeper into the earth. He declared Naruto a fool for thinking he could challenge the Otsutsuki, proclaiming that he would pay the price. With a cold laugh, Mamashiki belittled Naruto's power, stating that it was the end for him. As Mamashiki prepared to deliver the final blow, Naruto's wounds began to heal, his broken bones mending almost instantly. Mamashiki's eyes widened in surprise as he questioned what was happening. Naruto, wiping the blood from his mouth, taunted him, suggesting that he was ready for whatever came next. Enraged, Mamashiki unleashed a torrent of energy, but Naruto stood firm, allowing the attacks to strike him. Each time, his body was battered, only to regenerate moments later. He expressed his boredom with Mamashiki's attempts, insisting that he could not be killed. Mamashiki's fury intensified with every failed strike, unable to comprehend why Naruto was not fighting back and seemed to relish the pain. He declared that it would end now and unleashed a devastating blow, creating a massive crater where Naruto had been standing. However, as the dust settled, Naruto reformed, his bones and skin returning as if nothing had happened. With a mocking grin, he insulted Mamashiki, calling him trash. Mamashiki's rage twisted his features as he demanded to know how Naruto dared to insult him. Unfazed, Naruto summoned Itachi, one of his 4 demons, who stepped out of a swirling vortex with a cold, calculating gaze. Itachi bowed deeply, awaiting Naruto's orders, which were to assist in defeating the self-proclaimed god. Mamashiki's anger flared at the sight of Itachi. He recognized the 3-tomo Sharingan and mused that another descendant of Kaguya stood before him, intrigued by the echoes of her power in Itachi's eyes. He pondered the implications of Kaguya's legacy still lingering in the world, but he remained confident that their power was nothing compared to that of an Otsutsuki. Naruto stood resolute, his body glowing with the combined power of magic and chakra as Mamashiki charged forward, engaging him in a fierce taijutsu battle. Their movements were nearly impossible to track, each blow landing with tremendous force. Mamashiki targeted Naruto's chakra points with precision, and a powerful strike sent Naruto flying backward. In an instant, Mamashiki was upon him, gripping his head tightly. Before Naruto could react, Itachi appeared behind Mamashiki, but the Otsutsuki was quick to intercept him, delivering a powerful strike that caused Itachi to wince. With a swift motion, Mamashiki grabbed both Naruto and Itachi, dragging them through the ground before tossing them aside. Recovering quickly, Naruto and Itachi launched a coordinated attack, their fists colliding with Mamashiki's in a powerful clash that sent shockwaves through the air, cracking the ground beneath them. Mamashiki's eyes gleamed with excitement as he relished the challenge. Naruto exchanged a glance with Itachi, signaling for them to escalate their efforts. He transformed into his god form, while Itachi embraced his demonic power. Their movements became a blur, each clash causing the air to vibrate. Despite their combined strength, Mamashiki managed to hold his ground, though his frustration grew as they landed several hits. In a fit of rage, Mamashiki conjured a scythe made of pure chakra, striking at Naruto and severing his legs. Yet, Naruto regenerated almost instantly. Seizing the moment, Itachi struck with incredible force, sending Mamashiki flying. Irritated, Mamashiki grunted as he faced the relentless barrage of dark and fire spells unleashed by Naruto and Itachi. He was forced to dodge rapidly, growing weary of the attacks that he could not absorb. After evading most of the spells, he was struck by a few, the impacts leaving marks on his flesh. In a thunderous roar, he dispersed the remaining attacks. Breathing heavily, Mamashiki was caught off guard when Naruto appeared before him, delivering a powerful kick that sent him soaring into the sky. In a flash, Naruto ascended above him, wielding a massive Rasengan infused with lightning magic. As he blasted it toward Mamashiki, the Otsutsuki attempted to absorb the chakra-based attack. However, Itachi substituted himself with the Rasengan, and Mamashiki quickly created chains to restrain him, forming them into spikes. As the spikes approached Itachi, Mamashiki smirked, only for Itachi to vanish into a swarm of crows. Mamashiki was taken aback, his shock evident. Suddenly, Naruto appeared before him, delivering a punch that sent Mamashiki crashing into the ground. Itachi followed up with a powerful strike from his Susanu's skeletal form, driving Mamashiki deeper into the earth. Acting swiftly, Naruto encased Mamashiki in ice using his magic. Mamashiki, in a moment of desperation, summoned a massive wooden dragon that burst forth from the icy prison, lunging toward Naruto and Itachi with ferocious speed. However, Naruto froze the dragon in its tracks. As Mamashiki broke free from the ice, fury twisted his features. He summoned more wooden dragons to attack, and while Naruto and Itachi dodged and destroyed most of them, one managed to ensnare Itachi. With a fierce declaration, Mamashiki touched the dragon, channeling explosive chakra through it. In a split second, Naruto substituted himself for Itachi, absorbing the brunt of the explosion and momentarily falling. Itachi conjured his full-body Susanoo and engaged in combat with the giant wooden dragons. Mamashiki then unleashed his monkey rock technique, creating a giant stone monkey reinforced with flames. The stone monkey and Itachi's Susanoo clashed in a fierce battle. After an intense struggle, Itachi dodged a punch and slashed the stone monkey in half with his Susanoo's sword. Mamashiki, eyes burning with rage, sneered at the duo. The battle raged on, or so Mamashiki believed. Suddenly, he found Naruto behind him, a powerful strike moved through his gut. Mamashiki's disbelief was palpable as he realized he had been ensnared in Itachi's genjutsu. He stammered, refusing to accept his defeat. Naruto, cold and unyielding, reminded him of their true nature, declaring himself an immortal and Naruto a demon. As horror dawned on Mamashiki's face, Naruto delivered a devastating blow, tearing through his stomach and crushing his heart. The battlefield fell silent, the echoes of their fierce confrontation lingering in the air. Naruto and Itachi stood victorious, having overwhelmed the self-proclaimed god. Hidden in the shadows, Urashiki watched with a mocking laugh as Mamashiki fell to the hands of the dynamic duo. He found it fitting that the arrogant Mamashiki, so sure of his superiority, was brought down by mere mortals. Urashiki mused on the poetic nature of the situation, recognizing that Mamashiki's hubris had always been his greatest weakness. However, Urashiki's thoughts turned serious as he considered the implications of this defeat. The duo had demonstrated power and coordination beyond anything seen from this realm. They had not only defeated Mamashiki but had toyed with him, exposing his weaknesses and capitalizing on his arrogance. With narrowed eyes, Urashiki acknowledged the lesson in Mamashiki's failure: power without caution and understanding leads to ruin. His smirk faded as he focused on the future, realizing that Naruto and Itachi's growing strength posed a significant threat to their plans. This defeat, while amusing, must be taken seriously. With a final glance at the fallen Mamashiki and the victorious duo, Urashiki slipped back into the shadows, his laughter replaced by steely determination. After the fierce battle with Mamashiki, Naruto and Itachi silently made their way back. As they approached the forest where their comrades were still engaged in combat with the Sound Ninja, Naruto's gaze swept across the chaotic scene, absorbing every detail with calm intensity. Choji had emerged victorious in his fight, but victory had come at a steep price. He was barely clinging to life. Naruto frowned slightly, recognizing the severity of Choji's condition. Without hesitation, he created a clone, instructing it to take Choji back to the village for immediate medical attention. The clone nodded and carefully lifted Choji, teleporting back to Konoha. Neji, too, had managed to secure a hard-fought win, but like Choji, he was teetering on the edge of consciousness. Naruto's clone disappeared with the Hyuga. Nearby, Shino and Kiba were locked in a deadly dance with Sakan and Yukon, the twin brothers of the Sound Four. The air crackled with tension as the four ninja clashed repeatedly, each attack more ferocious than the last. Shikamaru and Lee engaged Taiyuya, the foul-mouthed kunoichi of the group. Her cursed flute played its haunting melody, but Shikamaru's sharp mind was already devising a counter. Just as the battles seemed to reach their peak, a figure emerged from the shadows. Kimimaro, the last and most dangerous of the Sound Five, appeared with a cold, unyielding expression. Without a word, he approached Taiyuya, swiftly taking Sasuke's coffin from her grasp. Lee followed after Kimimaro. As the coffin opened, revealing Sasuke, a surge of dark chakra filled the air. The marks of the cursed seal crept across his face, his power visibly growing as he stepped forward. Lee, who had been valiantly battling Kimimaro, turned his gaze towards Sasuke, determination flashing in his eyes. But before Lee could react, Kimimaro intercepted him, forcing Lee to continue their brutal duel. Kimimaro ordered Sasuke to go, his voice as calm as his demeanor. Sasuke, now fully emerged, turned away from the chaos, his eyes fixed on the path ahead. He advanced forward, his thoughts consumed by a single purpose: power. At the Valley of the End, his path was abruptly blocked. There, standing with an air of calm authority, was Itachi. Sasuke's heart raced, and his body tensed with fury as he laid eyes on his older brother. The marks on his face darkened, spreading further as his rage grew uncontrollable. Itachi acknowledged Sasuke, his voice smooth and devoid of emotion, as if their last encounter had been nothing more than a distant memory. Sasuke's anger boiled over, and without a word, he launched himself at Itachi, his movements fueled by years of hatred and pain. Itachi stood still, his expression unreadable, ready to face the wrath of the brother he once knew. Kimimaro remained silent, his expression unchanged, merely tilting his head slightly as he studied Lee with cold, emotionless eyes. He calmly advised Lee to leave, stating he was not a match for him. Lee narrowed his eyes, refusing to back down, and launched himself forward with incredible speed. His movements were a blur as he closed the distance between them in an instant, delivering a powerful kick aimed at Kimimaro's head. However, Kimimaro was faster. He shifted his body just enough to avoid the blow and countered with a bone spike that erupted from his forearm, aiming for Lee's stomach. Lee barely managed to twist out of the way, feeling the sharp edge of the bone slice through his jumpsuit. He landed a few feet away, breathing heavily, his eyes flickering to the small tear in his outfit, a testament to how close the strike had been. Instead of fear, a fierce determination ignited within him. Kimimaro, noticing the resolve in Lee's eyes, sighed, acknowledging the challenge. Lee wasted no time and shot forward again, his fists moving in a blur as he unleashed a barrage of punches. The force of each blow was immense, enough to shatter bones and rupture organs, but Kimimaro was no ordinary opponent. With fluid grace, he weaved through Lee's attacks, his movements almost dance-like. He seemed to anticipate every punch and kick, dodging with minimal effort. Whenever Lee got too close, a bone spike would shoot out from his body, forcing Lee to retreat. Frustration began to build within Lee as he realized that his usual tactics weren't working. No matter how fast or strong his attacks were, Kimimaro evaded them with ease. Lee's mind raced as he searched for a way to break through his opponent's defenses. But Kimimaro wasn't giving him any time to think. With a sudden burst of speed, he closed the gap between them, his bone sword drawn from his forearm. He slashed at Lee with great force, the blade aimed at Lee's throat. Lee barely managed to duck under the blade, feeling the cold wind of its passing on his neck. He immediately retaliated with a spinning kick, aiming to knock the sword from Kimimaro's hand. But Kimimaro twisted his wrist, redirecting the momentum of Lee's kick and countered with a sharp elbow to Lee's ribs. Lee gasped as the air was knocked out of him, the impact sending him skidding backward, his hand clutching his side where the pain radiated. He could feel the bruise forming but pushed the pain aside. He couldn't afford to be distracted. Kimimaro didn't let up. He charged forward, his bone sword poised to strike. Lee saw the attack coming and quickly sidestepped, narrowly avoiding a dangerous blow. But before he could counter, Kimimaro followed up with a sweeping kick aimed at Lee's legs. The kick connected, and Lee's legs were swept out from under him. He hit the ground hard but immediately rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding a downward stab from Kimimaro's sword. The blade sank into the earth where Lee had just been, and with a grunt, Kimimaro pulled it free, preparing for another strike. Lee knew he couldn't keep this up. Kimimaro was too fast, too skilled. If he didn't do something drastic, he would be overwhelmed. With a determined glint in his eyes, Lee made his decision. He reached down to his leg warmers and, with a quick motion, removed the heavy weights he had been wearing. They fell to the ground with a loud thud, kicking up dust. Kimimaro paused, his eyes narrowing slightly as he observed Lee's actions. Lee stood up, feeling the sudden lightness in his legs. His body felt unburdened, and the sensation of freedom washed over him. He clenched his fists, a smile forming on his lips as he declared that the real fight was just beginning. Before Kimimaro could react, Lee vanished from his sight. His eyes widened slightly in surprise as he felt a rush of wind behind him. He turned just in time to see Lee's foot coming at him in a powerful kick. Kimimaro barely managed to block the attack, but the force behind it sent him sliding back several feet. He glanced at his arm, where Lee's kick had connected, noting with some surprise the faint bruise forming there. Lee's strength had increased significantly. Lee didn't give him any time to recover. He was on him again in an instant, his movements a blur as he unleashed a rapid-fire assault of punches and kicks. This time, Kimimaro found it much harder to dodge. Lee's speed had increased to the point where even Kimimaro's advanced reflexes were being tested. Kimimaro raised his bone sword to block a particularly strong punch, but the force behind the blow was enough to crack the bone. His eyes widened in shock as Lee followed up with a spinning kick that shattered the sword completely. Lee pressed the advantage, not letting up for a second. His attacks were relentless, each strike aimed to disable or incapacitate. Kimimaro was forced to retreat, dodging and blocking as best he could. But Lee's speed and strength were proving to be too much. Kimimaro gritted his teeth as he realized he needed to change tactics. With a swift motion, he extended several bone spikes from his body, creating a defensive barrier. Lee's fist collided with the spikes, and he quickly pulled back, avoiding injury. But Lee wasn't deterred. He darted around Kimimaro, searching for an opening in his defense. He found one and moved in, aiming a powerful punch at Kimimaro's ribs. But as he did, Kimimaro extended a bone spike from his ribcage, forcing Lee to abort his attack and jump back. Kimimaro took advantage of the brief lull in the fight to launch a counterattack. He moved his palm forward, sending a bone spike hurtling toward Lee. Lee managed to dodge it, but the spike grazed his cheek, drawing a small amount of blood. Lee wiped the blood from his cheek, his eyes narrowing. He took a deep breath and focused his chakra, feeling the familiar rush of energy coursing through his veins. He prepared to unleash his full potential. As he began opening the 8 inner gates, the air around him seemed to vibrate with energy. He opened the first gate, followed by the second and third gates. His skin flushed red as his blood flow increased, and his muscles bulged with power. The strain on his body was immense, but Lee pushed through it, driven by his determination to protect his friends. Kimimaro watched impassively as Lee powered up, his expression unreadable. He could sense the increase in Lee's power but remained calm, confident in his own abilities. With a burst of speed, Lee shot forward, his fist aimed at Kimimaro's chest. The force behind the punch was incredible, creating a shockwave as it traveled through the air. Kimimaro braced himself, raising his bone spikes to block the attack. But Lee was too fast. He twisted his body mid-attack, avoiding the spikes and landing a powerful punch squarely on Kimimaro's chest. The impact sent Kimimaro flying backward, crashing through several trees before he finally skidded to a stop. Lee didn't let up. He was on Kimimaro in an instant, his fists and feet moving in a blur as he unleashed a relentless barrage of attacks. Each strike from Lee was more powerful than the last, forcing Kimimaro to go on the defensive, blocking and dodging as best he could. Lee's overwhelming power broke through Kimimaro's defenses, landing a powerful uppercut that sent him soaring into the air. Lee followed, his body spinning rapidly as he prepared for his final attack. With determination, Lee executed his move, becoming a blur as he ascended higher, his grip on Kimimaro unrelenting. The sky darkened around them as they climbed, propelled by the sheer force of Lee's chakra. Dazed from the barrage of blows, Kimimaro could only watch as the ground became a distant blur beneath them. At the peak of their ascent, Lee tightened his hold, wrapping his legs around Kimimaro's waist. With a powerful twist, he initiated the descent, driving them both back toward the earth with incredible speed. The ground rushed up to meet them, a blur of green and brown, as Lee spun faster, the centrifugal force amplifying the attack. As they collided with the ground, the impact was tremendous. The earth beneath them erupted, a shockwave radiating outward. Dust and debris flew in all directions, and for a moment, there was only the sound of the earth shattering and the silence that followed. Lee stumbled back from the impact zone, breathless and aching. His muscles burned, and he felt the strain on his chakra pathways. But he couldn't afford to rest yet. As the dust settled, Lee's eyes widened in disbelief. Amidst the rubble stood Kimimaro, battered and bruised yet still upright, his gaze cold and emotionless. Despite his injuries, he remained resolute. Kimimaro spoke calmly, devoid of emotion, acknowledging Lee's strength but asserting it was not enough. Lee's heart sank as he watched Kimimaro's body begin to heal, the wounds closing as his bones shifted and reformed. Lee had underestimated the regenerative power of his opponent, and the odds seemed increasingly stacked against him. Kimimaro raised his hand, and with a sharp crack, his spine detached, elongating into a flexible whip of bone. He swung it at Lee with terrifying speed, the bone whip slicing through the air. Lee barely had time to react, throwing himself to the side just in time to avoid the whip as it struck the ground, carving a deep trench in the earth. The wind from the attack brushed against him, a stark reminder of how close he had come to being struck. There was no time to think, Kimimaro was already on the move again. The bone whip lashed out with even greater speed. Lee dodged and weaved, fueled by adrenaline as he narrowly avoided each strike. But Kimimaro was relentless, his attacks growing faster and more precise. Lee's mind raced as he sought an opening to turn the tide of battle. He knew he couldn't maintain this pace much longer, the strain on his body was immense, and each movement sent waves of pain through him. But he couldn't give up. Not now, not when so much was at stake. With a desperate burst of speed, Lee closed the distance, ducking under the bone whip and aiming a powerful kick at Kimimaro's midsection. But Kimimaro was ready, raising a wall of bones from the ground to block Lee's attack and force him back. Lee landed on his feet but staggered from the impact. He felt his strength waning, the effects of the chakra gates taking their toll. He knew he had to act decisively or face defeat. Kimimaro surged forward, retracting his bone whip as he closed the distance. With a flick of his wrist, he sent a barrage of bone projectiles flying toward Lee, each one capable of inflicting serious harm. Lee's eyes widened as he saw the attack coming. He forced his body to move, barely managing to dodge the first few projectiles. But there were too many and he was too slow. One grazed his shoulder, another sliced across his thigh. The pain was sharp, but Lee gritted his teeth and kept moving. He had no choice now. He had to go all out even if it meant pushing his body to the limit. With a final, determined breath, Lee focused his chakra, opening the fourth gate, the gate of pain. His body erupted with energy, muscles bulging as his speed and strength surged. The pain was excruciating, but Lee pushed through, knowing this was his only chance. Kimimaro sensed the change in Lee's energy and paused, narrowing his eyes. But Lee didn't give him time to react. He shot forward with blinding speed, his fist aimed directly at Kimimaro's chest. This time, Kimimaro wasn't fast enough. Lee's fist connected with a thunderous impact, sending shockwaves through Kimimaro's body. Kimamaro's eyes widened in shock as he felt the pressure on his ribs. Lee followed up with a rapid series of punches and kicks, each one driving Kimamaro back with sheer force. But Kimamaro was not finished. With a fierce growl, his body erupted with bone spikes, shooting out in all directions and forcing Lee to retreat. Yet Lee was too quick, avoiding each spike as he closed in on Kimamaro once more. With a final, powerful kick, Lee sent Kimamaro flying across the battlefield, his body crashing into the ground. Lee stood there, panting heavily, his body trembling with exhaustion. He had given everything he had, but he knew Kimamaro was not someone who would easily be defeated. As the dust settled, Lee saw Kimamaro slowly rise to his feet, bloodied and battered but still standing. The sheer willpower and determination of the Kaguya clan member were awe-inspiring, indicating that the fight was far from over. Kimamaro entered the second state of his cursed mark. His eyes, filled with a mixture of respect and determination, met Lee's. He acknowledged Lee's strength but declared that this was the end. Kimamaro's body began to undergo a horrifying transformation. His bones began to protrude from his skin, forming an exoskeleton that encased his entire body. Massive bone structures erupted from the ground, filling the battlefield with a forest of deadly spikes. Lee looked around in horror as the bones continued to grow, surrounding him on all sides. There was no escape, no place to run. But Lee didn't back down. He clenched his fists, ready to face whatever came next, filled with determination. As the bones closed in around him, he gathered the last of his strength, preparing for one final, desperate attack. He knew that this was his only chance, and he was ready to give it everything he had. With a shout, Lee charged forward, dodging and weaving through the bone forest as he closed in on Kimamaro. The pain in his body was unbearable, but he pushed through it, his eyes locked on his target. Kimamaro watched as Lee approached, his expression calm, almost serene. He knew that Lee was formidable, but he also felt his own strength waning. His illness was taking its toll, and he could feel his body weakening with each passing moment. Lee finally reached Kimamaro, his fist raised for the final blow. But as he brought it down, his vision blurred, his strength leaving him. The strain of the chakra gates had finally caught up to him, and his body could no longer keep up. Kimamaro saw the opening and drove a bone spike toward Lee. The pain was immediate, but Lee didn't cry out. Instead, he gritted his teeth and forced his fist forward, landing the final blow on Kimamaro's chest. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The two combatants stood there, locked in place, their bodies trembling with exhaustion. Slowly, Kimamaro's body began to collapse, the bone exoskeleton crumbling away as he fell to the ground. Lee, barely able to stand, stumbled backward, clutching his side where the bone spike had struck him. His vision was fading, his body on the brink of collapse. But as he looked down at Kimamaro's fallen form, he knew that he had won. The battle was over. Kimamaro, his body broken and defeated, looked up at Lee with a faint smile. He acknowledged Lee's strength, whispering that Lee was strong but that his own body had reached its limit. With those final words, Kimamaro passed away. Naruto, having observed the battle from a distance, approached the scene. His expression was unreadable, yet there was a glimmer of respect in his eyes as he looked down at Kimamaro's lifeless body. With a slow, deliberate motion, Naruto stretched out his hand. The air around him crackled with dark energy as Kimamaro's body began to disintegrate, transforming into a book bound. The transformation was swift, the final remnants of Kimamaro's existence absorbed into Naruto's ever-growing collection of demonic servants. Naruto glanced at the book, a faint smirk playing on his lips as he acknowledged the fierce battle. He noted that both Lee and Kimamaro had unbreakable wills. His eyes shifted to Lee, who lay unconscious on the ground, trembling from the exertion of the battle. For a brief moment, Naruto's facade wavered as he considered the dedication and determination Lee had shown. But the curse of contradiction quickly reasserted itself, dulling any empathy he might have felt. Without another word, Naruto created a shadow clone. The clone moved swiftly, gently lifting Lee's battered body and preparing to take him back to the village. Naruto turned away, his expression cold and detached once more, as if the entire scene had been nothing more than a fleeting distraction. With that, Naruto vanished into the shadows, leaving behind only the echo of his words and the legacy of the battle that had just taken place. The Valley of the End stood as a silent witness to the storm that was about to unfold. The massive statues of Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha loomed over the brothers, casting long shadows that mirrored the darkness in their hearts. Itachi stood at one end of the valley, his expression calm, his Mangekyo Sharingan spinning slowly. His younger brother, Sasuke, faced him from the opposite end, his eyes burning with hatred and determination. The curse mark had already begun to spread across Sasuke's body, enhancing his power as he prepared to face the man he had sought to kill for so long. Itachi questioned Sasuke about the path he had chosen, his voice as cold as the winds that swept through the valley. Sasuke, filled with anger, retorted that Itachi had no right to lecture him after what he had done, declaring that today, Itachi would die. Without another word, Sasuke charged at Itachi, his speed enhanced by the curse mark. He closed the distance between them in an instant, aiming a fierce punch at his brother's face. Itachi calmly sidestepped the attack, his Sharingan predicting Sasuke's movements with ease. Sasuke followed up with a series of rapid punches and kicks, each one more aggressive than the last. Itachi dodged each strike effortlessly, his expression unreadable. Itachi acknowledged Sasuke's growth but asserted that he was still not strong enough. Frustration mounted within Sasuke as he gritted his teeth, refusing to be underestimated. He jumped back, forming the hand seals for his signature technique, unleashing a massive fireball that roared toward Itachi with intense heat. Itachi responded in kind, his own fireball clashing with Sasuke's in a brilliant explosion of flames that lit up the valley. As the flames subsided, Sasuke emerged from the smoke, his eyes gleaming with fury. He activated his two-tomo Sharingan, locking onto Itachi with determination. He vowed to make Itachi pay for what he had done to their clan. Sasuke rushed at Itachi again, this time with his Chidori crackling in his hand. The lightning chakra illuminated the valley, casting eerie shadows across the water. Sasuke lunged at Itachi, aiming the Chidori at his brother's heart. Itachi made no move to evade the attack, but just as Sasuke's Chidori was about to connect, Itachi caught Sasuke's wrist with a vice-like grip. Sasuke's eyes narrowed as Itachi twisted his arm, redirecting the Chidori away from his body. The lightning exploded into the ground, sending sparks and debris flying. Sasuke staggered back, his arm numb from the force of his own attack. Itachi questioned whether Sasuke's hatred amounted to anything, asserting that if this was the best he could do, he would never defeat him. Sasuke's anger flared, his Sharingan spinning faster as a third tomo appeared in each eye. He felt a surge of power, the world around him becoming sharper and clearer. He declared that he was not done yet, the curse mark spreading further and amplifying his chakra. He charged at Itachi again, his movements now faster and more precise. Itachi raised an eyebrow, noticing the change in Sasuke's eyes, acknowledging that Sasuke had finally awakened the full power of his Sharingan. The two brothers engaged in a high-speed taijutsu battle, their movements a blur of fists and feet. This time, Sasuke was able to keep up with Itachi, matching him blow for blow, with Itachi holding back. They exchanged strikes with such speed and intensity that the air around them crackled with energy. Sasuke felt a rush of exhilaration as his attacks began to connect. He could see Itachi's every move, anticipating his every counter. He charged forward, delivering a powerful kick to Itachi's midsection, sending him flying back. Itachi landed gracefully on the surface of the water, sliding back slightly from the force of the kick. He looked at Sasuke, a hint of surprise in his eyes. He acknowledged Sasuke's improvement with a subtle nod, his voice almost proud. Sasuke, feeling the surge of power, formed the Chidori again, but this time, something was different. The usual blue lightning began to darken, transforming into a sinister black. The air around Sasuke crackled with ominous energy as the black Chidori formed in his hand. Itachi's eyes narrowed, recognizing the new technique. He prepared himself for the impending clash. Sasuke charged at Itachi, the black Chidori tearing through the air with a menacing hum. Itachi quickly formed the hand seals for his Susanoo, the skeletal ribcage of the ethereal warrior manifesting around him just as Sasuke's attack connected. The black Chidori collided with the Susanoo, sending out a massive shockwave that shook the entire valley. Sasuke poured all of his determination and chakra into the attack, trying to break through Itachi's defense. The black lightning crackled and surged, pushing against the Susanoo's ribs with immense force. For a moment, it seemed as though Sasuke might actually break through, but Itachi's Susanoo held firm. With a final push, Itachi repelled Sasuke's attack, sending the younger Uchiha flying back across the water. Sasuke crashed into the statue of Madara, his body bruised and battered. He struggled to his feet, the curse mark now fully activated, covering his entire body. His features had become more intense, his eyes glowing with the red of his fully awakened Sharingan. Itachi stepped forward, his Mangekyo Sharingan gleaming ominously. He acknowledged Sasuke's efforts, stating that he would give him one last chance to show his true strength. Sasuke responded with a roar of pure determination as he allowed the curse mark to empower him. His body morphed, his skin darkening, and his hair growing longer and wilder. Wings sprouted from his back, and his eyes, now fully attuned to the three-tomo Sharingan, locked onto Itachi with fierce intent. In his transformed state, Sasuke's power skyrocketed. He charged at Itachi with renewed fury, moving so fast that even Itachi had to put more effort into keeping up. Their clash shook the valley, each blow they exchanged reverberating through the stone statues and the surrounding cliffs. The brothers' battle became a fierce contest, each one pushing the other to their limits. Sasuke's black Chidori clashed with the Yata mirror of Itachi's Susanoo, creating bursts of energy that sent shockwaves through the valley. Itachi, despite holding back, found himself genuinely impressed by Sasuke's progress. His younger brother had indeed grown far stronger than he had anticipated. However, Sasuke's anger and determination were blinding him. He continued to pour all of his power into his attacks, desperate to break through Itachi's defenses and land a decisive blow. As the fight dragged on, Itachi's power remained superior. No matter how powerful Sasuke's attacks became, he couldn't touch Itachi. Just as Sasuke was about to reach him, Itachi's eyes flashed, and suddenly, Sasuke found himself frozen in place. The world around him twisted and distorted as he was pulled into Itachi's genjutsu. Sasuke struggled against the illusion, but it was no use. He was trapped, completely at Itachi's mercy. Deep down, he knew he wasn't strong enough yet. Not to defeat Itachi. Not to avenge his clan. Not to fulfill the destiny that had been moved upon him. In the real world, Sasuke collapsed, exhausted and defeated. Itachi stood over him, looking down at his unconscious brother with a mixture of sorrow and pride. He acknowledged Sasuke's efforts, but it was clear that he still had much to learn. Sasuke murmured Itachi's name, trembling with a mix of anger and despair, questioning why Itachi hadn't ended his life. Itachi gazed down at Sasuke, his expression unreadable. Slowly, he knelt in front of his younger brother, the weight of the moment pressing down on them both. He placed a hand on Sasuke's shoulder, his touch surprisingly gentle. He stated that Sasuke wasn't worth killing, his voice cold and detached. The words struck Sasuke deeply, shattering the last of his strength. He glared at Itachi, a fire of hatred burning in his eyes, but his body was too exhausted to respond. With a final look of defiance, Sasuke's consciousness faded, and he slumped forward, passing out. Moments later, Naruto appeared on the scene, taking in the aftermath of the battle. He looked from Sasuke's unconscious form to Itachi, his expression serious. He asked what they should do next, whether to bring Sasuke back to the village or let him go to Orochimaru. Itachi's gaze lingered on Sasuke's face, a mix of emotions flickering behind his usually impassive eyes. He understood that Sasuke's thirst for power and vengeance would drive him away from the village again. If Naruto forced him back, it would only delay the inevitable. With a heavy heart, Itachi made his decision. He quietly advised Naruto to let Sasuke go, acknowledging that this was a path Sasuke had chosen. He warned Naruto to be watchful as one day, Sasuke would return. Naruto nodded solemnly, understanding the gravity of Itachi's words. He walked over to Sasuke and gently shook him awake. Sasuke stirred, his eyes slowly opening. He looked around in confusion, searching for his brother, but Itachi was nowhere to be found. Naruto stood up and turned his back to Sasuke, beginning to walk away. Sasuke, still disoriented, called out to him, questioning why Naruto was letting him go and not stopping him. Naruto paused, glancing over his shoulder. He explained that this was Sasuke's path. He couldn't force him to stay or change. Sasuke needed to figure out who he was and what he truly wanted. If going to Orochimaru was what he believed would make him stronger, then so be it. But he reminded Sasuke that strength wasn't just about power. It was about protecting those one cares about knowing when to stand firm and when to step away. Naruto's voice softened as he expressed his belief in Sasuke, affirming that one day, Sasuke would find the strength to return, not out of vengeance, but because of the bonds he had formed and the people who cared for him. Until that day arrived, this was Sasuke's journey. Sasuke listened intently, his emotions swirling within him. He remained silent, but the weight of Naruto's words lingered in his mind as he watched Naruto depart. Clenching his fists, he felt the curse mark pulsing on his skin, a reminder of the dark power he now possessed. Naruto walked away from the Valley of the End without looking back, leaving Sasuke to contemplate his thoughts and chosen path. It was a path shrouded in darkness, yet deep within Sasuke, a seed of doubt had been planted, a small glimmer of the bond he once shared with his friends and his village. Whether that seed would flourish or fade was a question only time could answer. The battle commenced without further delay. Orochimaru hissed, signaling the end of idle chatter. With a final hand sign, he transformed the three Hokages into lifeless puppets, their eyes now void of life. He leaped back, eager to observe his creations dismantle the boy. Hiruzen moved to intervene, determined to protect his village's greatest legends from this desecration. Naruto, however, remained calm and assured, reminding Hiruzen of his immortality and the godlike power he wielded in this form. As Naruto's words hung in the air, he enacted his will upon reality, causing time to freeze. For Hiruzen, Orochimaru, the Sound Four, and even the dust motes in the air, the world became a silent tableau. Only Naruto and the three deceased leaders of Konoha remained free within the violet cage. The battle began without a sound. Hashirama clasped his hands together, Tobirama's finger twitched, and Minato vanished. The rooftop erupted in a shower of splinters as would release. Nativity of a world of trees transformed the arena into a chaotic forest. From the new growth, a massive wood dragon lunged, aiming to consume Naruto's chakra. Simultaneously, Tobirama, a blur against the wood, weaved through the trees, unleashing water release. Heavenly weeping. Silent storm of needle-thin projectiles aimed at vital points from every angle. At that moment, a tri-pronged kunai embedded itself in a tree trunk behind Naruto, heralding Minato's arrival, a swirling ball of blue chakra, a Rasengan ready to strike. It was a coordinated assault from three masters of their craft. A giant to crush, 1,000 needles to pierce, and a pinpoint strike to obliterate. Yet, Naruto remained unfazed. He simply raised one hand, forming a sphere of absolute nothingness, a death orb, in his palm. He did not throw it or aim it, he merely held it. As the wood dragon approached, it ceased to exist, unraveling into gray dust. Tobirama's sunbond dissolved into mist a foot away from Naruto, their momentum stolen by the orb's life-negating field. Minato's attack was the only one that remained. As his Rasengan was about to connect, Naruto dissolved into a swirl of black and white particles, reappearing 10 feet to the left. Minato's Rasengan tore through empty air, carving a perfect sphere into a thick tree trunk. Before the three Kages could coordinate their next move, Naruto acted. He snapped his fingers, casting immobilization magic. Hashirama, Tobirama, and Minato froze mid-motion. Minato was caught in a crouch, his hands still extended from his failed attack. Tobirama was poised on a branch, one hand still mid-seal. Hashirama stood with his palms together, the source of the wood that now covered the roof. Naruto approached his father, his hand hovering over Minato's face. Suddenly, Minato's body erupted in a violent cloak of crimson chakra. The raw power of the Nine Tails shattered Naruto's immobilization spell. For Crimson Tails lashed out, shredding the wooden floor around him as his form grew more beast-like, resembling the monster that had once attacked the village. The surge of chakra was enough to free the other two Kages. Tobirama instantly flashed away, reappearing next to Hashirama. Dark green markings spread across Hashirama's face as he entered Sage mode, and the very trees of his forest seemed to grow thicker and stronger. With Sage mode Hashirama, version 2 Minato, and Water God Tobirama, the second wave of the assault was exponentially more terrifying. Hashirama slammed his hands onto a massive tree, summoning a gigantic, oni-faced humanoid of solid wood that charged with the power of a tailed beast. Tobirama became a phantom, flickering between puddles of water, launching barrages of water-fang bullets that sought blind spots. Minato unleashed pure, untamed force, forming a colossal demonic chakra arm that smashed down where Naruto stood, turning trees into splinters. Naruto met the onslaught with determination. He created a blade of pure darkness, carving deep gouges into the wood human's form. He acted walls of ice to block Tobirama's projectiles and warped space to evade Minato's strikes. However, the coordinated pressure was immense. The wood human grabbed him with a massive hand while Tobirama created a water prison around his head, and Minato prepared to unleash a miniature-tailed beast bomb. Naruto's eyes glowed crimson as he declared enough. He flexed his will and time fractured. The world rewound itself. The wood human disassembled back into trees, the water prison collapsed, and Minato's tailed beast bomb imploded back into his chakra cloak. He had reversed time, placing himself back in the center of the arena, untouched, while the three Kages remained frozen mid-motion from their previous attacks. They had no time to process it, no time to understand that the future they had just experienced was now a phantom. Naruto appeared directly in front of Tobirama, whose blank eyes couldn't track the movement. Naruto's hand, wreathed in black energy, plunged into Tobirama's chest, erasing him from existence. A flash signaled Minato teleporting to a kunai he'd thrown earlier. He appeared behind Naruto, hand reaching out with a paralysis seal ready, but Naruto did not turn around. Instead, he held up two fingers, and a small water senbon, imbued with lightning, shot backward. It was Tobirama's heavenly weeping technique, perfected and amplified. The needle pierced the paralysis seal tag, then Minato's hand, then his forehead. The lightning charge within it detonated. The V2 cloak violently dispersed, and Minato was engulfed in a cloud of ash and paper. Only Hashirama remained. The god of shinobi, witnessing his two comrades fall in an instant, responded with the only thing he could. He summoned his sage art would release, true several thousand hands. The titanic statue rose once more, its thousands of fists blotting out the sky within the barrier. The apocalypse of punches descended. Naruto watched the storm come down. He didn't irk to shield. He didn't reverse time again. He just stood there, arms at his sides. The first punch, large enough to flatten the Hokage monument, slammed into him. Then the second. Then 100. Then 1,000. He was engulfed, buried under an avalanche of divine power that pulverized the entire rooftop into a deep, dark crater. When the dust settled, Hashirama's colossal statue loomed over the abyss it had created. Naruto was gone. The statue began to lower its arms. Suddenly, a fissure of pure blackness split the statue's main body down the middle. It widened, and from within, Naruto stepped out, completely unharmed. His white robes were pristine. He had teleported inside the wooden construct, letting it beat itself against the ground where he had been standing. With a casual wave of his hand, the true thousand-hand statue, the pinnacle of wood release, withered. It turned black, then to dust, collapsing in on itself. Naruto had simply stolen the life from it. Hashirama, now standing alone in the crater, was defenseless. Naruto appeared before him. He looked at the reanimated face of the man who founded his village. For a moment, a flicker of sadness crossed his features. Then, it was gone, replaced by the cold necessity of the moment. He placed his hand on Hashirama's forehead. There was no explosion, no grand display. The god of shinobi simply turned to ash. The battle was over. The silence in the frozen world was absolute. Naruto let out a slow breath, and with it he released his hold on time. To Hiruzen and Orochimaru, it was as if an eternity and an instant had passed in the same moment. 1 second, Naruto was facing down 3 legendary Kage. The next, the Kage were gone, turned to dust, and Naruto was standing alone in a ruined crater. Orochimaru's jaw hung open, his mind unable to process the sheer, impossible scale of what he had failed to witness. He saw a hand on his face. He saw crimson eyes. In that moment, Orochimaru was gone. The Sound Four, feeling their master's chakra vanish completely, dispelled the barrier in a panic and fled. Hiruzen stood on the crumbling roof, looking at the boy who had just single-handedly erased 3 of the strongest shinobi in history and a legendary Sannin in the span of what felt like a single heartbeat. He pondered just how powerful Naruto truly was, the question echoing in the sudden, terrifying silence. Post-Sasuke retrieval arc. The air in Naruto's small apartment was still, heavy with the silence of a decision made. For days, he had sat, unmoving, his gaze fixed on nothing. The frantic energy of the village rebuilding after the invasion, the promotions, the missions, it had all been a distant hum, background noise to the storm raging within him. Kurama's voice rumbled in his mindscape, a deep, resonating bass laced with a rare thread of concern. He questioned Naruto's certainty about his decision, warning that once it was done, there would be no undoing it. Naruto's eyes, which had been empty, finally focused. He looked at his own hands, pale under the dim light of his room. He acknowledged that it was the only way to sever the root before the tree grew poisoned. He regretted that it had come to this, but he regretted the alternative more. He stood. There was no grand gesture, no dramatic flair. He simply raised a hand, and the space before him began to tear. It wasn't a jutsu, it was an act of pure will, a violation of natural law. A door, not of wood or metal but of woven space and solidified shadow, materialized in his room, its frame rippling like a heat haze. It did not lead to another place, but to another time. Kurama accepted the situation with a somber tone, urging Naruto to do what he must. Naruto stepped through the door, leaving his quiet apartment behind and walking into a maelstrom of fractured moments. For a terrifying second, he saw everything at once: a child's laughter, a brother's smile, a woman's kiss, a god's curse before the vortex spat him out into the night. The air was crisp and cool, alive with the familiar sounds of a peaceful Konoha. He was standing atop the Hokage monument, on the carved stone face of his own father. Below, the village was alive with light and movement. The moon was full, casting a serene glow. It was a time of peace, a few months before the tragedy. But that peace was about to be shattered. A different power, alien and parasitic, suddenly flared to life at the village gates, followed by the concussive boom of an explosion and the first panicked shouts. Naruto's gaze focused. He saw a being of pale skin and regal robes, a single horn protruding from his head. He wielded a shimmering red fishing rod, not for sport, but for reaping. He had just cast his line, hooking the chakra from a squad of Chunin and reeling it in, leaving them drained and unconscious. It was Urashiki Otsutsuki. Urashiki had seen the fall of Mamashiki, a defeat so absolute it bordered on humiliation. He had studied the victor, the one called Naruto Uzumaki, and understood a fundamental truth: a direct confrontation was suicide. The boy's power was not of this world. So, he devised a simpler plan. He would not fight the great tree, he would poison the seed. Researching the boy's lineage, he found the perfect target: Kushina Uzumaki, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, while she was still P-Arginin-T. Capturing her now would be cleaner, easier. He would steal the Nine-Tails and prevent the birth of the child who would one day defeat his kin. In the present past, the village's defenses mobilized with shocking speed. Minato Namikaze, the yellow flash, was a golden blur, appearing at the gate alongside Jiraiya and a squad of Umbu. He commanded the evacuation of civilians, instructing Jiraiya to secure Kushina. Minato turned his full attention to the intruder, declaring that he was not welcome there. Urashiki giggled, his voice taking on a sing-song quality as he stated his purpose. He mentioned that he was just fishing, intrigued by the exotic varieties of chakra in the village. Casting his line, he targeted not Minato, but an umbu beside him. The hook snagged the shinobi's chakra, and Urashiki began to reel it in, consuming the stolen energy. Minato observed the scene with concern, muttering about the technique he had witnessed. He quickly threw a marked kunai and flashed behind Urashiki, a Rasengan forming in his palm. Urashiki noted Minato's speed with a hint of admiration, but time seemed to stutter around him. He sidestepped with ease, causing Minato's Rasengan to tear through empty air. With a swift motion, Urashiki swung his fishing rod, wrapping the line around Minato's arm and siphoning his immense chakra. Urashiki relished the taste of Minato's power, but from a distance, Naruto watched with disdain. He recognized Urashiki as a pale imitation of his own abilities, a child playing with a broken clock. Minato found himself in peril, his signature speed rendered ineffective against an opponent who could predict his every move. A quiet command echoed across the battlefield, carrying an air of finality. The energy from the Hokage monument rippled down, and Urashiki's fishing line suddenly went rigid. With a sound reminiscent of cracking glass, it began to disintegrate, vanishing from existence. Urashiki froze, his playful demeanor replaced by shock as he looked up at the figure standing atop the fourth Hokage's stone face. The energy signature was familiar, the same one he had sensed from the future, the one that had defeated Mamashiki. Confusion and fear crept into Urashiki's voice as he questioned how this newcomer had arrived. Minato, now free from the line, gazed up at the boy with black hair, dressed in unfamiliar robes. Yet, there was an inexplicable connection he felt, a pull he couldn't comprehend. Naruto descended from the monument, his feet landing silently on the ground, his focus solely on Urashiki. Naruto addressed the Otsutsuki, his voice cold and flat, declaring that Urashiki had come a long way to meet his end. The air crackled with tension as the two inhuman powers faced off. Minato stood frozen, kunai in hand, while Urashiki's playful smirk faded into a mask of cold calculation. The umbu remained poised, awaiting their Hokage's command. Urashiki regained his composure, amusement flickering in his eyes as he acknowledged Naruto's power. He had seen this man's strength alongside the Uchiha, but this was different from the brute force of Mamashiki. Urashiki expressed his intentions, revealing that he sought the Nine Tails but found Naruto to be an unexpected bonus, curious about the techniques he could extract from an immortal. With a flick of his wrist, Urashiki sent the red chakra line shooting forward, aiming to snag the energy surrounding Naruto. But as the hook approached, a sphere of distorted space formed in front of it. The hook plunged into the sphere and vanished, teleported into the void between dimensions. Urashiki's eyes widened in realization of Naruto's spatial manipulation. Abandoning the direct approach, Urashiki activated his Rinnegan, causing time to stutter. To Minato and the umbu, Urashiki became a blur, vanishing and reappearing behind Naruto with his hand outstretched, unleashing a powerful shockwave of purple energy aimed at him. Yet Naruto was already turning, his perception of time absolute. He met the shockwave with an open palm, summoning a vortex of black energy that consumed the attack, erasing it from existence. Naruto stepped forward, the ground beneath him turning black. He swung his arm in a backhanded motion, unleashing a wave of pure darkness that surged outward. Sensing the threat, Urashiki activated his Tomo Rinnegan, tearing open a rift in space and retreating just as the death wave washed over his previous position, turning the ground to dust. Minato's eyes widened in realization of the technique's lethal nature. Another rift opened above the battlefield, and Urashiki emerged, looking down with disdain. He dismissed Naruto's technique as vulgar, commanding the earth to erupt around him. Massive walls of rock shot up, sealing Naruto in darkness. But the prison exploded outward in a blinding flash of light, revealing Naruto unharmed at the center of the crater, his black robes billowing. He questioned Urashiki's belief that such a cage could contain him. In an instant, he vanished, leaving Urashiki scanning the area in confusion. Suddenly, Naruto reappeared directly in front of Urashiki, delivering a powerful blow to his gut. The impact carried a chilling touch, causing Urashiki to feel an unnatural cold spreading through him as he was sent hurtling backward. He landed lightly on his feet, glancing down at the spot where Naruto had struck. The flesh was turning gray, withering as if aging rapidly. With a pulse of his chakra, he halted the decay, but the patch of deadened flesh remained. Urashiki's playful demeanor cracked, revealing genuine alarm as he realized that Naruto's touch was not merely damaging, it was lethal. He had mistaken Naruto's immortality for simple regeneration, but this was something entirely different. This man didn't just heal, he was an embodiment of death itself, a power that Mamashiki had been unable to comprehend. Urashiki regarded him with a lower, more serious tone, expressing fascination. He opened a portal and retrieved a small, ornate black box, revealing that he had hoped to save this for a special occasion but felt compelled to act now. In the palace of the Dragon King, he opened the lid, and a strange, ethereal gas began to seep out, shimmering like a rainbow in the moonlight. Minato recognized the threat and yelled for everyone to fall back, urging them to avoid the mist. The umbu and he leaped back, creating distance. Naruto stood his ground, watching the gas approach. He recognized it as petrification, a state of living death, a prison of the flesh for 10,000 years. For a normal being, it was a fate worse than death. For him, it was an intriguing variable. He wondered if this would finally grant him silence. As the gas washed over his feet, his skin began to harden, turning a stony gray. The petrification crawled up his legs, torso, and arms, but he made no move to stop it. Instead, he closed his eyes, a flicker of hope crossing his face. Urashiki watched with a triumphant smirk, proclaiming that Naruto would face 10,000 years of stillness. Once he became a statue, Urashiki planned to study the nature of his immortality after collecting the fox. The gas completely enveloped Naruto, transforming him into a perfect, lifeless statue, his expression peaceful. Minato watched in horror, realizing that Naruto was gone. Urashiki laughed, reveling in his victory, but then a hairline fracture appeared on the statue's cheek, followed by another on its forehead. Urashiki's laughter faltered. The cracks spread across the stone form, and a low hum of immense power emanated from within. Naruto's voice echoed, declaring that one could not imprison a concept, and he was the end. The statue exploded, not with force, but with an implosion of pure blackness. The petrifying gas was annihilated, and from the void, Naruto emerged, his eyes glowing a solid, malevolent crimson. The passive aura of death that usually surrounded him had transformed into a raging storm. He had allowed the Dragon Palace to affect him to test its limits, and it had failed. Now, the game was over. He expressed his exhaustion with Urashiki's patience and raised his hand, summoning his demon. A book, bound in what appeared to be human skin and bone, materialized in his hand, flipping open on its own. From its pages, a torrent of bone and chakra erupted, solidifying into the form of Kimimaro, his eyes blank and subservient, the curse mark on his chest glowing ominously. He knelt before Naruto. Urashiki scoffed, trying to maintain his bravado despite feeling unnerved, dismissing Kimimaro as a mere pet. Naruto simply pointed at Urashiki, commanding Kimimaro to destroy him. Kimimaro rose, his spine transforming into a flexible bone whip. He shot forward, moving with deadly grace. Urashiki, now on the defensive, used his fishing rod to parry the bone whip, the sound of chakra against bone echoing through the night. While Urashiki was occupied with Kimimaro, Naruto began his own attack without moving, he simply willed it. The sky above Urashiki darkened, and a massive black spear, dripping with an aura of absolute death, materialized from nothing and fell like a guillotine. Sensing the imminent danger, Urashiki used temporal rewind, vanishing just before the spear would have struck him. He reappeared 20 feet away, panting slightly. He attempted to assert that one could not hit what one could not see, but another black spear appeared directly above him. He rewound again and again, but each time he reappeared, a new spear awaited him, falling from the sky. Naruto was not predicting his movements. He was attacking every possible point in space-time simultaneously. Urashiki's composure shattered as he shrieked that this was impossible. He was forced to constantly rewind time just to survive, each rewind draining his chakra. Kimimaro pressed his attack, unleashing a flurry of bone spikes that turned him into a spinning vortex of destruction. Urashiki opened a portal with Yamatsu Hirasaka, trying to escape to another dimension. However, as the portal opened, Naruto's hand emerged, grabbing Urashiki by the throat and pulling him through, not into another dimension, but right back in front of Naruto. There was no escape, Naruto declared, his crimson eyes piercing into Urashiki's. He didn't need to use a death orb or a blade. He simply tightened his grip, and the full, unrestrained power of the Curse of Contradiction flowed from his hand into Urashiki. Urashiki had no time to scream as his body began to turn to dust from the point of contact. His advanced physiology and divine power meant nothing. The curse was not destroying his body but revoking its right to exist. In mere seconds, Urashiki Otsutsuki was gone, scattered into the night wind. The book in Naruto's hand glowed, and Kimimaro's form dissolved back into its pages. The battlefield fell silent. Minato Namikaze stood amidst the destruction, gazing at the black-haired stranger who had just erased a godlike being with casual finality. He had saved the village, saved him, and saved his wife. Though he did not know who this man was, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Naruto turned, his eyes no longer crimson but black and empty once more. He looked at his father, the hero he had only ever seen in pictures. He saw the questions, the gratitude, and the confusion in Minato's gaze. He wanted to express something: an apology, love, a wish for a happy life, but the words caught in his throat. Let me cease to exist. That is all the payment I require. He remained silent. From the shadows of the gate, two more figures emerged: Jiraiya, his usual bravado replaced by a grim seriousness, and Kushina, her hand resting protectively over her swollen belly, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. She had witnessed the end of the battle from a safe distance. Kushina gazed at the back of the stranger and felt a familiar yet sorrowful chakra emanating from him. She struggled to articulate her thoughts. The stranger finally turned, revealing a face marked by profound exhaustion, his black eyes holding a sorrow so deep it seemed to absorb the moonlight. He looked at Minato, at Jiraiya, and finally his gaze rested on Kushina, on the gentle curve of her stomach where he himself lay sleeping, unaware. A pained expression flickered across his face, the first true emotion he had shown. He spoke quietly, saying there was nothing to repay, he was simply cleaning up a mess. Jiraiya stepped forward, his analytical gaze sweeping over Naruto, questioning how someone of such power could exist. Naruto offered a humorless smile, stating that he had come on his own. As he took a step closer, Kushina gasped, feeling a sharp pain radiate from her seal. Inside her, the Nine Tails roared in confusion and rage, claiming that half of its power resided within the boy before them. Kushina stumbled, clutching her stomach, realizing the beast had never communicated with such clarity before. Naruto felt the Nine Tails' internal roar through his own connection to Kurama. The final piece of the puzzle had clicked into place for them. The time for pretense was over. He acknowledged that he did possess half of the Nine Tails' power and revealed to Kushina and Minato that he was their son. The world seemed to tilt for Minato and Kushina, while Jiraiya stood in shock. Minato whispered in disbelief, struggling to comprehend how this was possible. Naruto explained that he was from the future, a future where the seal weakened during his birth, allowing a masked man to extract the Nine Tails, leading to their deaths while they protected him and the village. He stepped closer, pleading with them to understand the necessity of his actions. He had lived for centuries since that day, cursed to form no bonds without bringing death, unable to know peace or die. His existence was a mistake, a wound upon the world that could never heal. He looked at his mother, his gaze softening with a profound love, and expressed his desire to fix the past by preventing his own birth. Kushina, tears streaming down her face, questioned how he intended to do that. Naruto's gaze fell to her stomach as he revealed that he would ensure he was never born. The weight of his plan crashed down upon them. Minato instinctively stepped protectively in front of Kushina, refusing to let Naruto go through with it. Naruto's voice cracked as he explained that his birth was the catalyst for their suffering. If he were never conceived, the seal would remain strong and they would live. He raised a hand, dark energy swirling around it, not aimed at them but at himself, ready to erase his own existence for their sake. Just as he focused his will, the sky shattered. The world turned cold and inverted, color and warmth violently ripped from existence, replaced by a monochrome void of despair. An ancient and cruel presence descended upon them, and Naruto was instantly pulled away, a vortex of shadow swallowing him and reappearing high above the village, separating him from his parents. Anxeram's voice boomed from the void, a chorus of damnation that crushed the soul. The god manifested in the sky, a being of shifting shadows and chilling light, his fury directed solely at Naruto. He mocked the boy's desire to end his suffering, declaring that it had only just begun. The world tore apart. One moment, Naruto was near his parents, their faces etched with horror. The next, he found himself in a different realm. There was no sky, no ground, only an endless, monochrome expanse stretching into gray infinity, a pocket dimension created for punitive purposes. Anxeram loomed before him, not as a man but as a concept, a towering silhouette of shifting shadows and cold, internal starlight, exuding an aura of absolute judgment. The god's voice vibrated through Naruto's very soul as he reiterated that he had given Naruto a new stage, an audience, and a tragedy to compose, questioning the boy's audacity to attempt to tear it down. Naruto felt a cold, burning rage replace his fear, a rage that had simmered for centuries. He declared that the god's entertainment was his torment, and it would end now. The battle commenced, a clash of a mortal's indomitable will against a god's absolute authority. Naruto attacked first, unleashing the full, unrestrained power of his curse, sending a sphere of pure annihilation toward Anxeram. Simultaneously, he warped the fabric of their pocket dimension, attempting to rewind Anxeram's existence by millions of years. He unleashed a wave of death predation, a tide of pure blackness. This assault had previously defeated Kage and Otsutsuki, but against Anxeram, it was ineffective. The death orb, his ultimate expression of destructive power, simply dissolved as it approached the god, its magic reclaimed by its original source. The temporal wave shattered against Anxeram's form like glass striking diamond. The god existed outside the linear flow of time that Naruto commanded. The death predation wave washed harmlessly against the god's silhouette, parting around him like water around a stone. Anxeram remained still, mocking Naruto for using his own gift against him. He compared Naruto to a child throwing pebbles at a mountain, deeming it pathetic. Anxeram did not counterattack. He did not need to. His goal was not to destroy Naruto but to break him, to make him suffer in a way he had never conceived. He mused about Naruto's value for life, suggesting that it was a fascinating contradiction to erase his own life to protect others. Anxeram extended a shadowy finger, and Naruto felt a horrifying sensation not of being attacked, but of being opened. Anxeram reached into his soul and forcibly ripped open the floodgates of emotion that Naruto had spent centuries building dams against. He was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable wave of pure, unconditional love. He felt an agonizing affection for Minato and Kushina, a desperate need to see them smile. He felt a fierce, protective loyalty to Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Kakashi. He felt a deep, brotherly bond with Sasuke, a paternal care for Konohamaru, a grudging respect for Shikamaru, and a genuine fondness for every single soul in the village of Konoha. Every man, woman, child, and even the animals in the forest, he was forced to value their lives as dearly as his own. The curse of contradiction, force-fed this impossible feast of emotion, responded with cataclysmic power. Naruto screamed, clutching his head as black energy erupted from his body. This wasn't a controlled wave. It was a chaotic, uncontrolled detonation of death magic. In his mind's eye, he could see the energy threatening to bleed out of their pocket dimension and back into the real world, fulfilling the god's threat and wiping out the very village he had just saved. He fought against it, pouring every ounce of his will into containing the apocalypse brewing within him. The white light of his divine form strained against the surging blackness, a war between creation and annihilation happening within his very being. Anxeram's voice whispered with sadistic glee, urging him to struggle and suffer. Naruto realized he couldn't win. He couldn't overpower the god, nor could he contain the amplified curse forever. He had only one option left. A gambit so dangerous that it threatened to tear apart the fabric of causality itself. He had to break the game. If he could not die, then neither would that moment. He reached deep into his mastery of time, not to rewind or fast-forward, but to shatter. He pulled at the threads of the multiverse with reckless abandon. From the past, he ripped the image of Zerof, the black-haired student from Mildian Academy, a version of himself before the curse. From the future, he pulled the specter of himself after the battle with Mamashiki. 3 versions of himself: the cursed god, the innocent scholar, the tired warrior, began to converge in one impossible point in spacetime. The pocket dimension groaned, the gray infinity beginning to flicker and tear. He was creating a temporal paradox of such magnitude that it was becoming a bomb, a singularity that would not just erase him, but this entire slice of the timeline, Anxeram included. He was holding a metaphysical gun to his own head, demanding that the god either let him cease to exist or face the consequences. For the first time, Anxeram's amusement faded, replaced by cold, calculating fury. A paradox was messy and unpredictable, not the clean, elegant, perpetual suffering he had designed. This was a mortal trying to flip the entire chessboard. Anxeram's voice turned icy as he asserted his ultimate authority. He did not try to stop the paradox. He let it build to its apex, allowing Naruto to pour his entire being into this final, suicidal act of defiance. Then, at the moment of critical mass, the god acted. He did not sever Naruto's connection to the past or reset his memory. Instead, he reached into the raging temporal storm and changed the very syntax of the curse. With a gesture of divine will, a new rule was written into Naruto's soul. The paradox collapsed. The specters of his past and future selves vanished, leaving Naruto floating in the gray void, panting and having expended nearly all his power for nothing. A chilling dread crept into his heart as he asked what Anxeram had done. The god's form seemed to smile, a terrifying twisting of the void. He revealed that he had granted Naruto's wish for a greater tragedy. The terms of his curse had been amended. Previously, it took the lives of those Naruto valued, a simple and elegant rule. Now, it would also take the lives of those who valued him. The horror of it slammed into Naruto with the force of a physical blow. It was no longer just his love that was a weapon. Anyone who dared to show him kindness, friendship, or love would be signing their own death warrant. He was no longer just a danger to those he cared for. He was a walking plague to anyone who dared to care for him. Bonds of any kind were now impossible. It was the perfect prison: utter, complete, and eternal isolation. Anxeram commanded him to return to his stage, to try to live, to find connection, and to entertain him.